Chapter 1901. Naive and Ignorant. Yun Luofeng took another sip of tea. How could there be naive and ignorant people in such a prestigious family? Chi Su, Jinan likes you. Chi Su, who had just taken a sip of tea, spat it out when he heard Yun Luofeng's words. Fortunately, Yun Luofeng dodged quickly and did not get spat out. Well, I didn't mean to. Chi Su wiped the corner of his mouth, his face full of embarrassment. I was just scared by you. I've only met her a few times. How could she like me? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. I don't care about your feelings. But I have a request for everyone around me. You are not allowed to have concubines. Otherwise, there will be countless troubles and it will affect the efficiency of doing things for me. Moreover, she, who came from China, did not dare to compliment men having multiple wives. Fortunately, she had Yun Shao. Yun Shao would never trouble her with these things. If there was anyone who peeked at him, he would take care of it himself. He would not give anyone any chances. I know. Moreover, he had never thought about having concubines. Also, Yun Luofeng slowly stretched, his expression languid. I'm here to find Ji Jiutian. If I find out that she lied to me or caused me trouble, I will not let her go. Until now, she only saw that Jin unlike Chi Su. She did not find any other emotions. If Jinan wanted to do something, then she would not be polite. Miss Yun, if you think that Jinan lied to us, then we can leave the Jian family. Chi Su frowned. If Jinan really liked him, then he would be the first to leave the Jian family. No need. I think it will be easier for us to find Ji Jiutian here. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. A light flashed in his eyes. Oh yes, Chi Su, tell your people to keep searching. If they find Yun Shao, then let me know. Okay. Chi Su nodded. I've already sent most of the Chi family's people out. I'm sure they will find Yun Shao soon. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng did not say anything else. His eyes were filled with contemplation. By the way, Chi Su seemed to remember something and said, I owe the second prince a favor. I plan to visit him in the next few days. Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed. Tell me about the second prince's situation. Chi Su was stunned. He raised his head and looked at Yun Luofeng. The second prince and the second princess consort were deeply in love. In the years when the second princess consort was alive, the second prince doted on her alone. He did not even step into the concubine's room. Unfortunately, the second princess consort passed away from illness a few years ago. Yun Luofeng did not speak and continued to listen to Chi Su. The second princess consort had a daughter. Before she passed away, she passed on her last words, hoping that her younger sister would be the second prince's second wife. As a member of the royal family of the kingdom of Tianqi, the emperor would definitely not allow the second prince to not remarry for the rest of his life. In order to prevent her daughter from being bullied, the second princess consort naturally hoped that her own sister could take over this position. It was better than the second prince marrying a stranger. The second prince would definitely follow the second princess consort's will. Who would have thought that not long after, the second princess consort's sister would also fall ill? Sisters falling ill one after another. Yun Luofeng stroked his chin. This was indeed thought-provoking. The emperor naturally did not allow it. Instead, he favored the second miss of the Jian family, Jinny. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Tell the second prince that I can save the second princess consort's sister. Furthermore, I can help her ascend the throne. Chapter 1902. Chi Su's eyes were filled with surprise. Based on her understanding of Yun Luofeng, she wasn't a helpful person. Miss Yun, your request is. Chi Su thought for a moment before asking. I want him to listen to my orders. Yun Luofeng's appetite had always been huge. He wanted to eat up the entire Tianqi state. However, Chi Su still believed that she had the ability to do so. Tell the second prince about this first. As for my request, I will personally bring it up to him. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a faint smile. Her pitch-black eyes were filled with confidence. Then I will go find the second prince tomorrow. Just as the two were discussing, footsteps came from outside the door. In that instant, the two of them stopped talking. Chi Su, when you cause trouble, you solve it yourself. When it comes to women, you need to cut the Gordian knot so that it doesn't cause trouble in the future. Yun Luofeng said lightly. She had already reminded Chi Su that if he procrastinated and caused trouble in the future, it would be his own problem. When it came to matters of the heart, he needed to reject decisively. He couldn't give her hope and give her despair. I understand. Chi Su sighed helplessly. He didn't think that Jinan would like him, but he trusted Yun Luofeng even more. Yun Luofeng's words would never be wrong. Just as they were talking, the door was pushed open. Jinan immediately saw Chi Su at the door and smiled. Young Master Jinan, I have some matters to discuss with you. Is it convenient to go somewhere else to talk? She glanced at Yun Luofeng in the room, clearly not wanting her to know. No need. Just say it. Chi Su rejected her immediately. Yun Luofeng wasn't an outsider. What could she not hear? Jinan was stunned, and her expression was a little conflicted. For a woman, there were some things that couldn't be said in front of others. Just as Jinan was frowning, Yun Luofeng's evil voice came from the room. Chi Su, go. I have already said what I need to say. You will know what to do. With Yun Luofeng's words, Chi Su didn't reject Jinan anymore. He nodded. Lead the way. Jinan's heart was filled with complicated feelings. She really did want to talk to Chi Su, but Chi Su listening to Yun Luofeng like this really made her unhappy. However, she was very smart and did not show any dissatisfaction. She still had a gentle smile on her face. Master Chi Su, this way please. In fact, Jinan really wanted to take Chi Su to her room to talk, but she also knew that if she did so, Chi Su would definitely be unwilling. This youth paid too much attention to the boundaries between men and women. But wasn't such a man even rarer? Behind the rockery, Jinan stopped in her tracks and turned her head to look at Chi Su who was standing in front of her. After pondering for a while, she asked, Young Master Chi Su, what is your relationship with Miss Yun? Perhaps because of Yun Luofeng's previous words, Chi Su felt that Jinan's questioning was too deliberate, which made him very uncomfortable. Miss Yun is my friend. I came to the state of Tianqi this time to accompany her to find Ji Jiutian. Friends. Hearing this, Jian and breathed a sigh of relief. I thought, why? Chi Su frowned and asked. Jinan gently pursed her lips and did not answer Chi Su. Her pair of eyes stared at Chi Su. Young Master Chi Su, actually, from the first time I saw you a few years ago, I already liked you. In an instant, Chi Su's fingers stiffened. Perhaps because Yun Luofeng had warned him before, he did not appear too shocked. Chapter 1903. Seeing his calm expression, Jinan's eyes darkened slightly. Mr. Chi, will you marry me? Sorry, I don't want to. His words were very direct, so direct that Jinan's heart felt like it was being torn apart. The pain was very heart-wrenching. She knew that Chi Su would not like a concubine's daughter, but now that she heard the truth, she still felt very sad. I know that Mr. Chi Su does not like me because I am only a concubine's daughter. But I only ask you one thing. Can you pretend to marry me? After I leave the Jian family, I will set you free. Jinan's face was a little pale. She looked up at Chi Su, her eyes full of hope. The young man in front of her was already her only hope. No one could help her except him. Jinan, I already have a fiancée. She is waiting for me in Drifting Wind Country. You want me to pretend to marry you? If my fiancé finds out, how can I explain it? Chi Su's expression had already turned cold. If it were not for the sake of Jinan's help, he would directly throw a sentence at her. How could I possibly hurt my fiancé's heart for a stranger like you? Jinan's expression was a little painful. It turned out that Chi Su already had a fiancé. Your fiancé. Is she very powerful? Only someone with a powerful background could match up with Chi Su. A concubine's daughter like her would never be able to marry him. Chi Su frowned. Jinan, what do you mean? Am I someone with that kind of power? Let me tell you, the woman I like, even if she is just a beggar, she is still the one I love. Do you know that more than a year ago, when my master went missing, I was treated harshly by the Qi family. Everyone kept their distance from me, except for her, who stood by my side as always. In this life, I will not let her down. Jinan smiled with a pale face. I'm sorry, I said something wrong. How could the man she liked be such a snob? Otherwise, she would not have missed him for a few years. Young Master Chi Su, I have no choice but to look for you. Can you help me? I believe that your fiancée must be very kind. She will understand you. Jinan wanted to grab Chi Su's sleeve, but he shook her off. Chi Su's face was filled with impatience. My fiancée is indeed very kind, but a kind woman still has very high requirements when it comes to relationships. You said that we are only pretending to be married, but who can tolerate their man getting married to another woman? Even if it's fake. Jinan's face grew paler. She had no other choice, so why wasn't he willing to help her? Even if it's fake. She did not really ask to marry him. If Chi Su did not help her, her mother would die. Young Master Chi Su, a few years ago, you and your master came to the kingdom of Tianqi and met with danger. You were surrounded and attacked, and your master was not by your side. At that time, you asked me to help you find your master and tell her about the danger you were in. Originally, Chi Su was still a little grateful to Jinan. Now that he heard her words, the only trace of gratitude in his heart disappeared. I'm very grateful to you for informing my master on my behalf. My master has also repaid you by giving you a few elixirs. Those elixirs are very valuable. Your mother was seriously injured at that time, and it was because of my master's elixirs that saved her life. Chi Su looked at Jinan. So, I've already repaid the kindness that I've shown you. And I have always been grateful for a drop of water, so when you were bullied by your sister, I helped you to chase her away. Chapter 1904. If you threaten me with kindness, we can only break off all ties. He had his bottom line. If someone helped him once, he would return the favor 10 times. Provided that it did not cross his bottom line. Young Master Chi Su. Seeing that Chi Su was about to turn and leave, Jinan knelt on the ground with a thump and her face was full of tears. My father knows that you are the young master of the Qi family and he forced me to marry you. He said that if I don't marry you, he will kill my mother. She is my only mother and the most important person in my life. How can I not save her? Please help me. As long as we get married, my father will let my mother go. Are you going to leave her to die? She cried her heart out and her eyes were red. The thought of the price her mother would have to pay made her heart wrench. However, Jinan did not think that the reason why Jian Bowen gave such an order was that she had asked for it. She would not have died if she had not asked for it. If she had not gone to Jian Bowen and said those words, why would Jian Bowen threaten her with her mother's life? At the end of the day, it was her own fault. Chi Su's back stiffened and a complicated look flashed across his eyes. He sighed deeply and said, I can't hurt my fiancé's heart for you. In my heart, she is more important than you. His words were harsh enough. After saying that, he slowly walked down the mountain. Jinan's body collapsed on the ground. Her eyes were filled with despair and pain as she watched Chi Su leave. Her face was pale. Chi Su, can you really be so heartless? You can disregard a person's life just to not let her be sad. I've already begged you, why won't you help me? If you don't help me, that man will definitely kill my mother. She really did not understand how Chi Su could be so heartless. To him, saving the mother and daughter was as easy as lifting a finger. Moreover, it was just a fake marriage. Even if his fiancée would be sad, he could just explain it to her. Moreover, as a man, how could he not control his fiancée? It had to be said that Jinan was deeply affected by having a mother like that. In their world, men were the sky and they had to look up to them. In her heart, she did not think that Chi Su's fiancé could raise any objections. Moreover, if a fake marriage could make her sad, what about Chi Su's concubines in the future? Mother had said that it was natural for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Obstructing a man from taking a concubine was disrespecting a man and being unfilial to his in-laws. Such a daughter-in-law was destined to be criticized by the world. Chi Su did not know what Jinan was thinking. However, after hearing what Jinan had said just now, he had already decided to leave the Jian family. However, looking at the dark sky, he let out a long sigh. It's getting late. I'll talk to Miss Yun about leaving tomorrow. It's already so late, she must be resting by now. Furthermore, he believed that the Jian family wouldn't be able to stir up any trouble in one night. Thinking of this, he entered his room, closed the door, undressed, and went to bed to rest. However, Chi Su did not fall asleep for long before he felt the door being pushed open, followed by an unfamiliar aura. He did not open his eyes. He wanted to know what this woman was going to do. He, who had studied medicine with Yun Wuqing since he was young, subconsciously closed his eyes, afraid that someone would plot against him. Chapter 1905. However, that person did not use any smoke or poison him. Instead, she walked to his bedside. Then, there was a tearing sound and the sound of cloth being torn. Chi Su finally couldn't help but open his eyes and look at the girl standing at the bedside. At this moment, the girl's face was as pale as ever. Her clothes were torn and her naked body appeared in front of him. Jinan, what do you want? Chi Su sneered. Seduction. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on me. Your body is no different from bones to me. Mr. Chi Su, I'm sorry. I had no choice. Jinan's face was full of misery. If you didn't refuse to help me, I wouldn't be forced to this extent. Chi Su turned over from the bed and said coldly, I originally wanted to leave after tonight. Since you forced me to do this, then I'll leave now. Between you and I'll cut off all ties. Leave. Jinan smiled miserably. It's not up to you anymore. After saying this, she suddenly let out a shrill scream. This scream was very abrupt in the night, and it also broke the silence of the night. Chi Su was not stupid. At first, he thought that Jinan wanted to seduce him. Now that he heard this scream, he understood her real purpose. This time, his face completely changed. Jinan, are you gambling with your reputation? Do you think that I will do as you wish? Even if you slander me, I will not marry you. He really didn't expect that Jinan would go this far. And he also regretted it in his heart. If he knew that Jinan would be like this, he shouldn't have come to the Jian family. I know that you won't be controlled by others and you won't marry me because of this. But, what if your fiancé knows about this? Do you think she will believe you? Jinan took 2 steps closer to Chi Su. But, if you help me and pretend to marry me, I will explain to your fiancé in the future. Jinan put away the feelings of love in her heart and pressed him aggressively. This is a deal, how about it? She didn't want to marry Chi Su now. She just wanted to save her mother. Chi Su smiled sarcastically. Do you think I'll believe you? I only know that I have to be swift and decisive. I won't give anyone a chance to pester me. Chi Su, why are you so cruel? Jinan's eyes were full of pain. It's easy for you. You just need to deal with it casually and you can save a person's life. Even if you don't consider the fact that I've helped you, you shouldn't be so heartless. I never thought that the man I've loved for so many years would leave me in the lurch. Chi Su smiled coldly. Save someone who schemed against me. I'm not that kind. If that's the case, then don't blame me for being cruel. Jinan smiled bleakly and slowly closed her eyes. In her heart, she had already lost all hope for Chi Su. If he was willing to help her now, she might explain to others that this was a misunderstanding. Now that he was heartless, don't blame me for being heartless. Suddenly, Jian opened her eyes. Her gaze was filled with determination. At this moment, a series of footsteps came from outside the door. Then, a group of people broke the door and quickly surrounded the entire room. The first to enter were Jian Bowen and Jian Yi. After the two of them saw the scene in the room, the former frowned and the latter's face was full of contempt. Chapter 1906. Miss Yun. At the same time, Chi Su saw the woman in white standing by the door. His lips moved and his eyes were filled with helplessness. His expression seemed to be saying that he didn't know this would happen either. Yun Luofeng crossed her arms in front of her chest and leaned lazily against the doorsill. Her devilish eyes slanted upwards and her lips curled into a smile. Based on her understanding of Chi Su, he would never make such a mistake. So, there was only one reason. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes and the smile in her eyes deepened, but it was filled with endless coldness. But she didn't intend to help Chi Su solve this problem. If Chi Su couldn't even solve such a small problem, how could she believe in his abilities? It's getting late, you should solve it quickly. She stretched lazily and said calmly. What she meant was that he should solve the problem quickly so that he wouldn't disturb her rest. Humph. Jian Bowen snorted and his face darkened. And, what's going on? Jianan looked at Chi Su and bit her lip. She looked humiliated. Dad, I don't know what's going on either. I was sleeping just now, but I suddenly fainted. When I woke up, I found myself in Master Chi Su's room. I don't know anything else. Her meaning was clear. She was sleeping soundly at first, but she was accidentally drugged by the sleeping gas, and was even kidnapped by Chi Su. As soon as they saw her messy appearance, everyone could guess what had just happened. I don't believe it. Why didn't he take advantage of others, but you? Jian Yi sneered and her face was full of mockery. I think it's because your usual behavior isn't simple. That's why he took advantage of you. Jinan's expression changed and her body stiffened. She had already guessed that her behavior would definitely provoke Jian Yi's humiliation. But for her mother, she did it without hesitation. Even so, she still felt very sad when she heard Jenny's words. Jianan, how dare someone like you covet Master Ji? Jian Yi raised her chin and said arrogantly, you should go back and look at yourself in the mirror. You look like a toad lusting after swan meat. Now that you've lost your chastity, it's even more impossible for you to marry Master Ji. Jinon's head almost sank into the dust. Anyone who saw her would sympathize with her. Jian Bowen furrowed his brows as he looked at Chi Su. His eyes were no longer as cold as they had been in the beginning. Instead, he looked like a father-in-law looking at his son-in-law. Since this has already happened, you must take responsibility for my daughter and marry her. By the way, I've heard that you're from the Qi family of Drifting Wind Country. The Qi family seems to have many spirit herb mountain ranges, and I'm not asking for much. Just give me 3 as a betrothal gift. On this continent, due to the dense spiritual energy, medicinal herbs could also be upgraded to spiritual herbs. However, the growth of spirit herbs required not only dense spiritual energy, but also a natural mountain range. Although the other mountain ranges also produced spiritual herbs, the quantity of those spiritual herbs could be counted on one hand, unlike those natural spiritual herb mountain ranges. But, the Qi clan only had 5 spirit herb mountain ranges in total. The Jian family asked for 3 of them right away. How could such a good thing exist in this world? Chi Su sneered, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Sure enough, this group of people were jackals of the same tribe, greedy and insatiable. Chapter 1907. Do you think that a daughter of a mistress is worth the price of 3 mountains of spiritual medicine? Chi Su's handsome face was filled with disdain and his eyes were filled with mockery. His voice was cold and emotionless and it made Jinon's heart tremble. She clenched her fists tightly and felt as if her heart was being squeezed. The pain was unbearable. Initially, she had thought that she could let go of this relationship and only talk about business. Little did she know that one sentence from this young man could send her to the 18th level of hell. Yun Luofeng, who was leaning against the door, raised her head and looked at Chi Su. She clearly did not expect him to say such hurtful words. However, she still did not intend to help Chi Su. She believed that Chi Su would have a way to solve this matter. Jian Bowen's face alternated between white and red. He had thought that since Chi Su had done such a thing to his own daughter, he would try every means possible to obtain her. Besides, the appearance of such a scandal would certainly affect Chi Su's status in Drifting Wind Country. Hence, using 3 mountains of spiritual medicine as the price was not too much. If you're not willing to give me 3 mountains of spiritual medicine, then 1 mountain should be enough, right? Jian Bowen took a deep breath and asked. 1 mountain was already his bottom line. I'm sorry, in my heart, she's not even worth a copper coin. Chi Su raised his eyes and his icy gaze fell upon Jian Bowen. His face was expressionless. Jinon suddenly raised her eyes and stared at Chi Su in disbelief. Her lips were trembling and her face was drained of blood. How could this man be so heartless? Does he not have a single ounce of compassion in his heart? Chi Su, what on earth do you want? Jian Bowen's expression turned cold. You've molested my daughter. Are you going to let this slide? If this gets out, how is she going to get married in the future? Whether she gets married or not has nothing to do with me. She found out about this on her own. I've never laid a finger on her. You didn't lay a finger on her. Then what happened to her clothes? Are you going to tell me that she tore them herself? Jian Bowen laughed icily and spoke in a disdainful tone. He knew his daughter very well. Even though she was very ambitious, she would never stoop to such a thing. Since she said that I raped her just now, let's get someone to check her body and see if she's still a virgin. Chi Su said calmly with one hand behind his back. Jinon's body trembled even more violently. She raised her finger and pointed at Chi Su. Chi Su, how dare you do such a thing to me? You've already taken me by force, yet you still want me to test my body and suffer such humiliation. If word of this gets out, everyone in the world will know that I've lost my chastity. How am I supposed to live? Do you really want to force me to death? Tears flowed down her cheeks and she bit her lips tightly. Her expression was one of humiliation, as if she had been humiliated by Chi-Su. Chi-Su, I know that you have a fiancé. But you disregarded the fact that I had once saved your life and hurt me like this. Shouldn't you take responsibility? Chi-Su said coldly, I want to check your body. If you're not a virgin, I'll marry you. If you're a virgin, then it proves that this is all your own doing. Hearing this, Jinan was shocked. Just as she was about to continue reprimanding him, a woman staggered in from outside the house. My daughter, these bastards actually dared to do this to you. Check your body, you have to check it. Hurry and find an experienced woman. I want the person who took my daughter to be responsible for this. Chapter 1908. Jinan's face changed completely. Body check. Wouldn't it all be in vain? This mother of his really couldn't do anything right, but she was good at spoiling things. If it weren't for her, how could she be forced to this extent? Now she was trying to undermine her. Mom, Jinan let out a heavy shout. This was supposed to be a warning, but when the woman heard it, she only heard grievance. Daughter, don't worry, I will help you. Go and find someone to do the body check. Jinan's face had already turned pale. I'm not sure if Chi-Su really had sex with me. After all, I was in a coma at the time. But, it's a fact that she tore my clothes and molested me. When I woke up, I saw her on top of me. What she said was reasonable, and no one could think of a way to refute it. Chi-Su. After saying that, she looked at Chi-Su again. Even if you didn't have sex with me, so what? You saw me naked and tore my clothes. Don't you need to take responsibility? Jian Bowen also felt that Jinan's words were very reasonable. He immediately said with a cold face, Mr. Chi-Su, my daughter is innocent. Your behavior is equivalent to destroying her innocence. I don't care if you had sex with her or not. Today, you must take responsibility. Chi-Su smiled. Jinan kept saying that I was on top of her. Then, I want to ask you, have you ever seen someone rape a woman with clothes on? Everyone present was stunned. They didn't notice it just now. Yes, Chi-Su was clearly wearing clothes. Why did Jinan keep saying that he wanted to have sex with her? Jinan had already thought of an excuse. She looked down and said, Chi-Su put on clothes after I woke up and saw that the situation was not good. Really? In that case, you have seen my naked body before. Then let me ask you, is my hemorrhoid on the left shoulder or the right shoulder? Chi-Su raised a smile on his face, and his eyes were cold. Jinan was stunned. How could she know whether his hemorrhoid was on the left shoulder or the right shoulder? However, she understood that since Chi-Su asked this question, it was impossible for her not to answer it. Moreover, there were only two answers. Even if it was a guess, there was a 50% chance. After thinking for a while, Jinan answered, left shoulder. Chi-Su smiled. After seeing his smile, Jian and Xan panicked. No, I remembered wrong. It's the right shoulder. Congratulations, whoosh. Chi-Su took off his clothes, revealing his smooth and delicate shoulders. You hit the wrong person. There is no mole on my shoulder. Jinan's body went limp and she almost fell to the ground. She leaned on the woman's body to stabilize herself. Chi-Su actually tricked her. How could he be so heartless? At this point, coupled with the flustered expression on Jinan's face, even someone as slow-witted as Jenny could see something. She opened her mouth wide in surprise and covered it tightly. After a long time, she took a deep breath and said, Jinan, how dare you use your innocence as a bet to frame others? TSK, how could you do such a shameless thing? You're really a disgrace to the Jian family. Father, I think we should kick this mother and daughter out of the Jian family. As these words fell, the woman suddenly panicked. She hurriedly pulled Jinan's arm and said, "Quick, please beg your father. We can't leave the Jian family." Mother, Jinan's voice was very weak. She knew that this time, she was finished. Chapter 1909. Child, why are you so useless? Why are you making your father worry for you? Hurry up and apologize to your father so that you don't get kicked out of the house, the woman scolded. Jian bit her lips and did not make a sound. She was tired. She was really tired. She was exhausted so that her mother could stay in the Jian family. Now that the truth is out, you still want to force me to marry her. Chi Su lowered his eyes and glanced at Jinan. His voice was cold and emotionless. How can such a scheming woman enter the Qi family? The dust had settled. Yun Luofeng straightened his body. Under the cold moonlight, a lazy smile appeared on his face. Chi Su, I'm sleepy. Let's go. Okay. Chi Su did not say another word to the Jian family and walked towards Yun Luofeng. He did not want to stay in this place anymore. Wait. Jian Bowen's eyes flashed and he scolded, Chi Su, who allowed you to leave? If I say that you took advantage of her, then you must have. I'm telling you, you must marry her today. Otherwise, you will not leave the Jian family. In reality, there was a reason why Jian Bowen dared to treat Chi Su this way. He had sent a servant to Drifting Wind Country and stayed there for a few years. Now, he had returned to Tianqi Country. Therefore, when he found out about Chi Su's identity, he secretly inquired about the Qi family situation from that servant. Therefore, Jian Bowen already knew that Chi Su's powerful master, Yun Ruqing, had disappeared. And the Qi family was under Chi Su's control. In his eyes, the current Chi Su was just a person with a huge amount of wealth, but not much strength. Although he had the royal family of Drifting Wind Country as his backing, didn't the Jian family also have the royal family of Tianqi Country to rely on? If he could make Chi Su marry Jian, then all the wealth of the Qi family would be in his hands. As for Chi Su's fiancée, the fourth princess of Drifting Wind Country, he did not really care. Since she was his fiancée, no one would dare to say anything even if he did not marry her. Furthermore, he did not think that the barbaric princess of Drifting Wind Country could compare to his well-educated daughter. Chi Su stopped in his tracks and sneered, "Who do you think you are? How dare you interfere with my marriage? Besides, I've told Jinan before that I have a fiancé in Drifting Wind Nation. Wouldn't it be fine if you don't marry that fiancé?" Jian Bowen was very disapproving. He really didn't want to give up such a good son-in-law. A cold glint flashed across Chi Su's eyes. "My fiancée is the fourth princess of Drifting Wind Country. Your daughter is merely the daughter of a concubine. What right does she have to be compared to my fiancé?" He didn't want to use his status to oppress others, but unfortunately, these people were too unreasonable. He had no choice but to reveal Mu Shuexin's identity. Jianan raised her head in surprise. No wonder he didn't like her. It turned out that his fiancée was a princess. Jian Bowen frowned. "My daughter is willing to share a husband with the fourth princess. When the time comes, you can give my daughter the title of Madam Ping." Of course, the spiritual herb mountain range was indispensable as well, at least 2. Otherwise, I'll ruin your reputation. She's willing to marry, but I'm not. Chi Su had already walked to Yun Luofeng's side. He looked at the woman in front of him with an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry, Miss Yun. I've disturbed your rest." Yun Luofeng slowly put down her crossed arms. The corners of her lips curled up as she looked at Jian Bowen with a smile. A cold light shone in her pitch-black eyes. Chapter 1910. Do you know how the Qi family of Drifting Wind Country was destroyed? Yun Luofeng curled the corners of his lips and asked in a nonchalant manner. Jian Bowen was stunned. Suddenly, he remembered what the servant had told him. Coincidentally, that servant was near the Qi family of Drifting Wind Country. Even more coincidentally, he was fortunate enough to witness the destruction of the Qi family. It was said that a woman who was as powerful as an enlightened master had appeared and assisted Qi Su in reclaiming the Qi family's position. That woman's medical skills were superb. She had even cured the terminally ill emperor of Drifting Wind Country. Could it be that this woman was the one in front of him? Jian Bowen's expression changed. If she had the power of an enlightened master, then he would not be able to do anything to Qi Su today. Qi Su, let's go. Yun Luofeng looked at Jian Bowen's pale face and knew that his words had frightened him. He did not stay any longer and slowly walked out of the Jian residence. Qi Su. Jianan paled when she saw that Qi Su was about to walk out. She quickly got up and chased after him. Her eyes were filled with despair. Can you really bear to leave me behind? Don't tell me, you've forgotten how I helped you back then. Even if you don't want to marry me, I'm willing to be your concubine. In reality, Jianan had never wanted to be a concubine back then. She was even more unwilling to follow in her mother's footsteps. But now, the man she had fallen in love with was Qi Su. She was willing to give up her dignity and become his concubine. More importantly, only Qi Su could take her away from the Jian residence. Qi Su paused in his steps and turned to look at Jianan. His handsome face was shrouded in coldness. Do you want to leave with me so badly? She did not know why, but when she saw the look in Qi Su's eyes, Jianan felt flustered. Go. And I will definitely leave with you. The woman quickly walked up to Jianan and said, even if you become a concubine of the Qi family, you will not be burying your identity. You should leave with him, your father also wants you to marry him. Qi Su had only asked, but the woman thought that Qi Su was asking if Jianan was willing to leave with him. She seemed to have forgotten how Jianan had schemed against Qi Su and how Qi Su had treated her. If that's the case, Qi Su smiled coldly, one of my subordinates has yet to marry, so I'll give her to my subordinate. Don't blame him for being heartless. All of this could only be blamed on Jianan for scheming against him in every possible way. He would never be soft-hearted towards such a woman. Jianan was stunned. Perhaps she did not expect that these words were said by the man she loved. How was he going to give her away like a commodity? Jian Bowen's expression also changed greatly. He glanced at Yun Luofeng, as if thinking about something. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said, go with him. Dad! Jianan screamed, her face full of disbelief. Listen to me and go with him. Qi Su had personally acted as a matchmaker for that subordinate, so he must have been highly regarded. At that time, he would instigate this subordinate to work for the Jian family. The woman comforted, your father's words will not be wrong. Even though you're only marrying a subordinate, you're still a legal wife. Moreover, the Qi family is a big family in Drifting Wind Country, they will not mistreat you. What broke Jianan's heart even more was the woman's words. Her eyes were red and she staggered a few steps backwards. Chapter 1911. Mother, I've been living for you all my life. You said that women must listen to men, so you did everything according to father. I also did as you wished and became an obedient daughter. Even when father asked me to seduce Qi Su, I did it because he said that if I didn't marry Qi Su, he would take your life. For you, I risked my reputation and broke off relations with Qi Su to do such a thing. But in the end, father wants me to be given to a servant, and you still want me to listen. Jinan was heartbroken. Her entire life was a tragedy. And, The woman paused and a hint of guilt flashed across her eyes. Be obedient, your father won't harm you. Jinan sneered and closed her eyes gently. After a long time, she opened them and turned to look at Chi-Su. Okay, Chi-Su, I'll go with you. Miss Yun, Chi-Su smiled and looked at Yun Luofeng. It seems that our trip to the kingdom of Tianqi this time was not in vain. At least our Qi family's uncle sweeper has a wife. In the future, he will sweep the floors of our Qi family even more diligently. Jinan, who was already filled with despair, immediately widened her eyes and trembled when she heard this. The person Chi-Su wanted to give her to was just a sweeper? Jinan has some strength. Yun Luofeng stroked his chin. So, you should first cripple her strength to prevent her from bullying the old man. That's true. The uncle sweeper is almost 100 years old. How could he withstand Jinan's torment? So, you should indeed cripple her strength. Chi-Su nodded in agreement. Jinan's face turned pale. With a boom, her mind went blank as if it had been struck by thunder. Chi-Su, don't you think you've gone too far? Jian Bowen's face was ashen and the veins on his forehead bulged. He clenched his fists tightly and suppressed the anger in his heart. Chi-Su's expression did not change in the face of Jian Bowen's anger, as if he did not see it. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. Chi-Su, I'm tired. Then let's go now. Chi-Su's voice was filled with respect. Then, he grabbed Jinan's lapel and dragged her out of the door like a mop. Stop. Jian Bowen was just about to get angry when he saw the woman in white slowly stop under the moonlight. Her back was facing the crowd, and her arrogant voice gradually sounded in the cold night. If anyone dares to take a step forward, I'll break their legs. This sentence caused Jian Bowen's feet to stop. He subconsciously stopped and watched as Yun Luofeng left. However, his heart was filled with regret. He had really suffered a double loss. If he had not wanted to marry Jinan to Chi-Su, maybe, he could have found someone to exchange his daughter for a fortune. Patriarch, are you all right? The woman stood weakly at the side. She wasn't too sad about her daughter's departure. In her heart, the most important thing was her man. As long as Jian Bowen was safe and sound, she would be satisfied. Look at what kind of good daughter you've raised. Jian Bowen slapped the woman's face and left with a flick of his sleeve. The woman stood behind him. Her eyes were full of guilt. It was all her fault for not teaching her daughter well. That was why the patriarch was so angry, the second prince's residence. The girl leaned on the soft couch with a pale face. Her expression was painful and her eyes were tightly shut. Chapter 1912. Second brother Chi sat next to her, his eyes filled with remorse. Ruo, I didn't take good care of you. If your sister were to find out, she would blame me. Hearing this, Yu Xianxian slowly opened her tired eyes and a weak smile appeared on her pale face. Brother-in-law, it's not your fault. If it wasn't for my sister's last words, would have been given to the third prince as a concubine by my father. But your illness, compared to my illness, I'm more afraid of being the third prince's concubine. Brother-in-law, did you know that the third prince is very cruel? I even heard that he tortured one of his concubines to death. As she spoke, the young girl began to sob. How could those people be so cruel? They actually wanted to give me to the third prince. In reality, her sister, who used to be the second prince's concubine, had also been given to the second prince by those so-called relatives. Fortunately, the second prince had fallen in love with her sister at first sight and had gone against everyone's wishes to marry her. He treated her like a treasure. When her sister was still alive, the Lin family had treated her very well. Unfortunately, once her sister had passed away, they wanted to give her away. So, her sister had left those last words because she was worried about her young daughter and wanted to find an excuse to get her out. Her sister also believed that the second prince would protect her for the rest of her life for her sake. Ruar, rest well. I won't let you go into the world. You can stay in my residence for the next few days. Yu Xianxian wanted to say something, but the man sitting by the bed had already stood up. His exhausted handsome face was now filled with determination. She was very touched to see the second prince like this. At the same time, she understood that the second prince had only treated her this way because of her sister's last words, but he didn't know that she had fallen in love with him. However, the second prince only had her sister in his heart. She didn't want to marry someone who loved her. So, she had agreed to be Princess Chi Yu's mother in name. Once she found a man who truly loved her, the second prince would let her go. Your Highness. Just then, a guard walked in and said respectfully, someone who calls himself Chi Su is here to see you. Chi Su. Second brother Chi was stunned for a moment before he ordered, let him in. Yes, Your Highness. The guard retreated. Ahem. Yu Xianxian coughed and sat up on the bed with difficulty. She smiled weakly and asked, brother-in-law, who is this Chi Su? Chi Su is someone I met in the Drifting Wind Nation. The spirit-gathering elixir and the puppets I have were all obtained from him. I see. If that's the case, then Chi Su is really powerful. Of course, second brother Chi laughed. If it wasn't for the fact that Chi Su already has a fiancé, I really wanted to be your matchmaker. What a pity, Yu Xianxian smiled and didn't say anything. In this lifetime, after seeing a man like her brother-in-law, it was really hard for her to fall in love with anyone else. Even if her brother-in-law could never forget her sister, she was willing to stay by his side as his sister. That was enough. At this moment, under the guidance of the guards, a man and a woman walked towards them. The youth was incomparably handsome, and his every movement was filled with nobility. As for the woman next to him, the moment Yu Xianxian saw her, her eyes flashed with amazement. No one would not be tempted by such a beautiful woman. Chapter 1913. But, she didn't know why, but this woman's face gave her a sense of familiarity. She seemed to have seen her somewhere before. Yu Xianxian frowned and fell into deep thought. Greetings, Your Highness. Chi Su cupped his fists and said loudly. Yun Luofeng stood with her hands behind her back. Her hair flowed like a waterfall in the wind. Her dark eyes were deep, and her figure was proud and aloof. Young Master Chi, you've come from afar, but I'm not in the mood to welcome you. Please don't blame me. Second brother Chi smiled. When he lowered his head, he saw Yu Xianxian's thoughtful face. Ruo, what are you thinking about? Yu Xianxian tilted her head. I think this sister looks familiar. I think I've seen her somewhere before. Her unintentional words made Yun Luofeng's eyes narrow. His deep gaze landed on Yu Xianxian's face. Familiar? Could it be Yin Huiqing? Chi Su thought of this too and immediately became excited. Miss, have you seen my master before? Second brother Chi knew Chi Su a little and had heard of Yun Yueqing's name. When he heard this, he looked at Yu Xianxian in shock. Ah, I remember now. Yu Xianxian called out excitedly. It's Benefactor. She looks very much like Benefactor. Benefactor. Do you know what your benefactor's name is? Chi Su's breathing quickened as he asked nervously. A year ago, when my sister was still alive, my sister and I were being chased. It was our benefactor who descended from the sky and saved us. She said that she was friends with my mother, so she saved us. Half a year ago, I also saw her at my sister's funeral. She only took a quick glance at us and left. Their mother passed away early. They didn't know that their mother had such a friend. However, they didn't suspect their benefactor at all. You and your sister were being hunted? Second brother Chi's breathing quickened. He instinctively grabbed Yu Xianxian's hand and asked. Brother-in-law, you're hurting me. Yu Xianxian frowned. A helpless expression appeared on her weak face. My sister didn't let me say it. Qi Laoer's face flashed with embarrassment. He let go of his hand and said, Sorry, I didn't mean to. At this moment, Qi Su was overwhelmed with emotions. He could not help but cry, Master, it's Master. She's still alive. I knew it. Master must be alive. But why is Master still alive but not coming to see me? Qi Su really could not understand this problem, so he simply stopped thinking about it. Nothing was more important than the fact that his master was still alive. Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed. If Yun Yuqing was still alive, would she be Bai Ling? According to what Qi Su had said, Yun Yuqing had lost her memory. If she was really Bai Ling and had recalled everything, she would be in agony when she found out that Yun Yang was dead. After all, to her, if Yun Shao was no longer around, then her life would become meaningless. Big sister, who are you to benefactor? Yu Xianxian looked at Yun Luofeng, her big bright eyes shining with naivety. Although her complexion was very weak, it could not conceal her once lively aura. Yun Luofeng thought for a moment. She could be my mother. Really? Yu Xianxian's eyes brightened and she smiled. Big sister, if you meet benefactor in the future, thank him on my behalf. I'm afraid I won't be able to speak to him personally. Xianxian, don't say such silly things. You'll be fine. Second brother Qi frowned and chided her. Chapter 1914. He couldn't hide the deep worry in his eyes. Brother-in-law, I know my body. I can't make it. Furthermore, my sister is my only family member. Wouldn't it be better to reunite with her and her sister when I reach the underworld? Yu Xianxian lowered her eyes and smiled softly. She wasn't lying. She was speaking from the bottom of her heart. The only thing she couldn't let go of was this brother-in-law and her young niece. Just as second brother Qi's heart was filled with worry, a heavenly voice fell into his ears, causing his body to suddenly stiffen. I can save her. I can save her. These 4 simple words made second brother Qi's heart beat faster. He took a deep breath and suppressed the emotions in his heart. He raised his head and looked at Yun Luofeng. What are your conditions? At first, he thought that Yun Luofeng was Qi Su's woman. Only later did he realize that he was wrong. She had destroyed the Qi family, and she was even the owner of the Elixir Gathering Hall. Then how could she be willing to become Qi Su's woman? He couldn't believe that such a powerful woman didn't have an ulterior motive. I want the entire Fengyun continent. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes and her lips curled into a smile as she said calmly. Second brother Qi sneered. The Fengyun continent is so big. Do you think you can have it just because you want it? As long as I want it, I will definitely have it. Yun Luofeng looked very confident. So, my first step is the state of Tianqi. Second brother Qi was a little surprised. This woman's appetite was really big. She wanted to swallow the state of Tianqi. More importantly, he was just a prince. What ability did he have to give the state of Tianqi to her? Miss Yun, I'm afraid you found the wrong person. I can't give you the state of Tianqi. No, you can. Yun Luofeng smiled lightly. As long as you can ascend the throne, you can give it to me. Second brother Qi fell silent. You mean, you want me to listen to your orders? Become your puppet? He pondered for a moment before looking at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng smiled. I already have enough puppets by my side. What's the use of one more? Don't worry, I only want you to listen to me, but not be a puppet. I can guarantee you this. You can think about it carefully. If you agree to this condition of mine, I'll help you deal with them and help you ascend the throne. It had to be said that Yun Luofeng's words were indeed very tempting. The competition for the throne was too great. It would be very difficult for him to ascend to this position alone. Furthermore, Xian Xian was on the verge of collapsing. All right, I promise you. After thinking for a moment, he raised his head and looked at Yun Luofeng. Brother-in-law. Yu Xianxian shouted in surprise. She bit her lips and said, I don't deserve this. Second brother Qi's expression softened. Don't talk nonsense. I promised your sister that I would protect you for life. How could I let anything happen to you? As long as there is a chance, I will not give it up. After he finished speaking, second brother Qi looked at Yun Luofeng and asked, if you can cure Xianxian, I'll agree to your condition. However, I still want to ask you something. There are so many princes in the state of Tianqi. Why did you choose me? Because there are so many princes in the state of Tianqi. You are the only one who will not go against morality. Before coming to the state of Tianqi, Yun Luofeng had asked Qi Su to investigate these princes. This was also the reason why he chose second brother Qi. Chapter 1915. The person she wanted to subdue definitely couldn't be a heartless person. Second brother Qi was loyal to his wife. Even after her death, he followed his wife's will and took care of her sister. This was the kind of man she wanted to be with. Miss Yun, if you want to conquer the Wind Cloud continent, you have a chance. Chance? Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes. What chance? 3 months later, there will be a 4-nation competition. At that time, one person will be chosen to be the ruler of the 4 nations. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly jumped. Yun Shao would definitely go to the 4-nation competition. If she went with the people from the nation of Tianqi, she might be able to meet Yun Shao. Thinking of this, her lips curled up. What are the qualifications to participate in the 4-nation competition? The princes of the 4 nations will have a chance to go. You just need to follow me then. Alright, inform me then. I will come immediately. Yun Luofeng stroked her chin. She had a premonition that she would definitely meet Yun Shao in the 4-nation competition. Miss Yun, I want to go too. Qi Su became excited. Master will definitely be interested in this kind of place. If she is alive, she will definitely go to the 4-nation competition. At the thought of being able to see his master, he became excited. Second brother Qi smiled. Miss Yun, when will you treat Xianxian? Yun Luofeng was silent for a while. Tomorrow. Before the treatment, we still need to make some preparations. Alright, if you need any spiritual medicine, just tell me. I will definitely go and get it. As long as he could treat you Xianxian, he was willing to go bankrupt. Yun Luofeng did not stand on ceremony. After all, she would not use her own spiritual medicine to treat others. Therefore, she wrote down a lot of things and handed them to Qi Lao, asking him to prepare them. Second brother Qi left. Yun Luofeng and Qi Su also left. Only Yu Xianxian was left in the room. Yu Xianxian knew from the start that the second prince did this for her because of her sister. However, she did not feel sad because of this. Instead, she felt glad. If brother-in-law was not such a sentimental person, why would she be attracted to him? Furthermore, she did not want brother-in-law to forget her sister. Sister, if I can survive this, I will definitely take care of Chi-Yu for the rest of her life and watch her grow up. I will protect the second prince's residence for you. I will not let anyone have the chance to bully you, even if it ruined his entire life. Yu Xianxian's illness was caused by a chronic poison. The poison was complicated, and normal doctors couldn't tell what it was, which was why no one could cure her. If he wanted to detoxify the poison, it would take a few days. When the second prince heard that Yu Xianxian was poisoned, he was furious and ordered his men to investigate the matter. However, she didn't tell Yu Xianxian about it. She did it behind her back. Fortunately, with Yun Luofeng's treatment, Yu Xianxian's poison was under control, and her body was no longer as weak as before. During this period of time, the Jian family did not find trouble with Yun Luofeng. As for Jianan, no matter how much she resisted, she was still crippled and sent back to the Qi family. Regarding this, Jian Bowen was shocked by Yun Luofeng's strength. He did not even dare to say a word. He only hoped that he would not be implicated. After all, he was only a god. Yun Luofeng could even defeat a god. Killing him would be as easy as waving his hand. Chapter 1916. Second Prince's residence. Yu Xianxian leaned back on the bed. Her delicate face was filled with a smile. Compared to before, her complexion was much better. Today is the last acupuncture. This time, I will expel all the remaining poison from your body. Yun Luofeng put away the needles and glanced indifferently at the young girl on the bed as he spoke slowly. Yu Xianxian smiled faintly. I really have to thank you this time. If not for you, my body would not have lasted more than a few months. There is no need to thank me. This is my deal with the second prince. Yun Luofeng had cured her and helped the second prince ascend to the throne. As for him, she had made use of him. Xianxian, you are finally fine. Second brother Qi relaxed. This way, I can be worthy of your dead sister. Yu Xianxian's eyes dimmed. However, when she saw second brother Qi's joyful expression, her lips curled up slightly. Brother-in-law, I promised my sister that I would look for Yuer for the rest of her life. Now, I will fulfill my promise and take care of her. Second brother Qi's eyes were filled with excitement. Then, he turned his head to look at Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, I know that you saved Xianxian because you wanted me to join your faction. However, I still have to thank you. If not for you, at this point, this man, who was already in his 30s, could no longer speak. His voice was choked with emotion. For this favor, he was even willing to become Yun Luofeng's subordinate. Qi Ling, I will get the spirit-gathering medicinal hall to provide you with sufficient spirit-gathering medicinal liquid. Furthermore, I will let you choose the puppets. Are you confident of obtaining first place in the four-nation youth competition? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. His domineering tone was exceptionally clear in the quiet room. Qi Ling's heart skipped a beat. If Yun Luofeng provided him with an unlimited amount of spirit-gathering medicinal liquid, it would not be difficult for him to obtain victory in the four-nation youth competition. Give me time. As long as I have enough time, I can train an invincible team. Good. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. Other than the spirit-gathering elixir, I also have a foundation elixir. This elixir is suitable for those who have just started cultivating. At that time, you can choose some young geniuses and start training them from a young age. These geniuses will become the overlords of the Wind and Cloud continent in the future. Back in the Roaring Dragon continent, under the surveillance of the royal family, Yun Luofeng had recruited a group of people who were considered to be trash. Unfortunately, after her training, these good-for-nothings broke through and became geniuses in a short period of time. In their transformation, the foundation-building liquid was an indispensable existence. If these people were originally geniuses, how terrifying would their changes be? Hence, Yun Luofeng was not boasting. One day, those geniuses would become the overlords of the wind and cloud continent. Qi Ling's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes lit up. Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, he knew that the effects of the Foundation establishment medicinal liquid were even more formidable. Miss Yun, leave the task of recruiting geniuses to me. As for naming the legions that these geniuses belong to, I'll leave that to you. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment. She looked up at the sky and her lips curled into a faint smile. Let's call it the Wind-Piercing Army. Wind-Piercing Legion. Qi Ling felt that this name was very strange. However, he did not ask about it. Instead, he laughed and said, "Good. In the future, that team will be called Wind-Piercing Legion." Elder sister, Yu Xianxian sat up on the bed with an innocent smile on her face. There is still some time before the four-nation youth competition. Now that my body has recovered, how about I take care of elder sister during this period of time? Chapter 1917. Yun Luofeng glanced at Yu Xianxian. Perhaps she wanted to get more information about Yun Wuqing from the girl, so she nodded. Okay. Yu Xianxian smiled. Her smile was innocent, and her big, bright eyes were filled with joy. Sister. Yu Xianxian slowly got off the bed and walked to Yun Luofeng's side. She hooked her arm around Yun Luofeng's elbow and said with a smile, I know a restaurant that serves pretty good food. This time, I'll be the host, and I'll take you to have a taste. Xianxian, your body. Qi Ling looked at Yu Xianxian worriedly. Ever since her body had gradually recovered, Yu Xianxian was no longer the sickly beauty that she used to be. Her smile was very bright and charming, and she looked very charming. Brother-in-law, I've been lying down for so many days. I should go out and breathe some fresh air. Don't worry. Seeing this, Qi Ling didn't say anything else. He sighed. Then be careful. Yun Luofeng glanced at Qi Ling and saw the worry between his brows. He calmly raised the corners of his lips, she's right. She needs to go out for a walk and breathe some fresh air. Besides, with a doctor like me around, do you still need to worry about her safety? Qi Ling paused and smiled. Then I'll have to trouble Miss Yun. Xianxian, listen to Miss Yun outside. Don't cause trouble for her, okay? Yu Xianxian playfully stuck out her tongue. Brother-in-law, am I someone who only knows how to cause trouble? Don't worry. If I meet the third prince's group, I'll definitely take a detour. Qi Ling shook his head helplessly. He didn't stop Yu Xianxian from leaving. After they left, Qi Ling's expression darkened. What? Still can't find anything. In the silent room, a black figure slowly descended and said respectfully, Your Highness, this subordinate has already searched the entire backyard of the prince's residence. I haven't found anyone who committed the crime. Could it be that the people who murdered my wife and sister aren't the women in the backyard? The second prince narrowed his eyes. Then expand the scope for this prince. Search the entire country of Tianqi. If I find out who is so daring, I won't let him off. Bang! Qi Ling's fist landed heavily on the wall. His face was ugly and his eyes were filled with anger. Who dared to poison his people in the prince's mansion? If he found out who did it, he would definitely not let them off lightly. On the bustling street, outside a splendid restaurant, a crowd was chattering and chattering. That group of people surrounded a young man dressed in rags. The young man's back was facing Yun Luofeng, so Yun Luofeng could not see his face clearly. However, his slender figure seemed extremely frail as he stood amidst the violent storm. Stinky beggar, what gall you have, to actually dare come to our heaven prayer tower to steal things. Break this stinking beggar's legs and make him beg for death. Who doesn't know that this heavenly prayer tower is the property of the third prince? How dare they steal from the third prince's territory? Are they seeking death? When Yun Luofeng heard these people's words, she was not affected in the slightest. After all, there were many pitiful people in this world, and not everyone was worthy of her help. But, just as Yun Luofeng walked past, she seemed to subconsciously glance at the young man. In that instant, her brows sank and her pupils constricted. Chapter 1918. Even though the youth was dressed in rags, his face was clean and clear. His tightly clenched fists trembled slightly as if he was enduring extreme pain. Perhaps noticing the surprised gaze from the side, the youth also turned to look over. When he saw the picturesque woman in white, the youth's eyes contained countless emotions. Grief, indignation, and a very heavy resentment. Yun Luofeng never thought that she would meet Mo Qianqing at this kind of time and place. She also never thought that the once insufferably arrogant youth would also be reduced to such a state. However, Yun Luofeng suddenly thought of Yun Zhao's words. If Mo Qianqing's life was in danger, the seal he placed on himself would be broken. At that time, this fellow would definitely return to cause trouble for them. So in this short moment, Yun Luofeng had already made a decision in his heart, elder sister. When Yu Xianxian turned around, she found that Yun Luofeng had already stopped in her tracks. Before she could ask her question, she saw the woman gradually walking towards the little beggar. What did he steal from you? Just as everyone surrounded the little beggar, an evil voice suddenly came from the side, causing everyone to involuntarily turn their heads to look. And this voice, to Mo Qianqing, was like the sound of nature. His eyes instantly became wet. Zhu Qian, I knew that you wouldn't ignore me. I'll say it one more time, I am not Zhu Qian. Yun Luofeng fiercely threatened, if you say the wrong name again, I'll leave you alone. Mo Qianqing instantly fell silent. He no longer wanted to live this kind of life of being bullied by others without any strength. Following Yun Luofeng's side now was undoubtedly the best choice. Yun Luofeng's gaze turned to the crowd and he asked again, what exactly did he steal from you? The leader of the group was a shopkeeper. He smiled coldly and said, not only did he come to our heavenly prayer tower to eat and drink for free without paying, but he also stole our elixirs. Nonsense. Mo Qianqing was furious. I did not eat and drink for free, I paid the bill. That spirit medicine was the money I gave you for the wine and food, yet you insist that I stole it. TSK, a beggar like you can have spirit medicine. What a great joke. Let me tell you, this spirit medicine of yours was stolen. Hurry up and hand over all the other spiritual medicines on you. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Mo Qianqing clenched his fists tightly, his face flushed red. If it was in the past, how could he have been bullied by such a person? It was all Yun Zhao's fault. If he hadn't lied to him, he wouldn't have sealed his own strength, and he wouldn't have fallen to such a state. When he thought of everything that had happened in the past, Mo Qianqing gnashed his teeth with hatred, and his belly full of resentment exploded forth. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng finally understood what had happened. As it turned out, this heavenly prayer tower was blatantly robbing them. She narrowed her eyes and swept her gaze across the group of people in front of her with a smile that did not reach her eyes. You say that he had stolen the spiritual medicine. Do you have any proof? The owner of the restaurant was obviously stunned for a moment, then said in a domineering manner, as a beggar, if he didn't steal it, then where did he get these elixirs from? Those elixirs were naturally given to him by me. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled. Mo Qianqing, it seems that those elixirs are not safe with you. You should return them to me. Mo Qianqing was stunned. Since when did she give away his spiritual medicine? However, Mo Qianqing still obediently took out all the spiritual medicine and placed it in front of Yun Luo Feng. For you, all my spiritual medicine is here. Chapter 1919. That's right. Yun Luo Feng narrowed his eyes and unceremoniously took all the spirit herbs. You're returning them to their rightful owners. Yu Xianxian stood next to Yun Luo Feng, blinking her big eyes. She looked at the girl's smiling face and felt that she was no different from the shopkeeper of the begging heaven brothel. She seemed to be taking advantage of the situation. The shopkeeper of the begging heaven brothel had long been staring at the spirit herbs in Yun Luo Feng's hands. He swallowed hard and shouted, "So you two are accomplices. Men, arrest these two people who dared to steal our heaven-begging abode's spirit medicine." At this point, the shopkeeper raised his head and arrogantly looked at Yun Luo Feng. "You must have other spirit herbs on you. Hand them over now, and maybe I can let you live." Yun Luo Feng glanced at the shopkeeper. "I've always been the one to steal from others. No one has ever taken a copper coin from me. Are you sure you want to do this?" "Humph." The shopkeeper snorted. His master was the third prince of the state of Tianqi. She was just a commoner girl. He could kill as many of such women as he wanted. However, on account of this woman's stunning beauty, he could give her to the third prince as a gift. "How dare you!" Yu Xianxian panicked when she saw that these people wanted to attack Yun Luo Feng. She shouted and glared at the shopkeeper angrily. The shopkeeper only noticed Yu Xianxian's existence now and was stunned. Yu Xianxian was not only a daughter of the Lin family, but she also had the support of the second prince's residence. It was not good to offend her. Now that he was standing up for these two women, could it be that this woman knew her? "Oh, Yu Xianxian, I thought you were dead. Why, have you recovered?" At this moment, a strange voice came from the side. This voice gave off a very uncomfortable feeling when it reached the ears of those who heard it. Yun Luo Feng frowned and turned her head to look. In an instant, a feminine face fell into her eyes. The man in front of her was dressed in brocade clothes, but it could not hide his body that had been hollowed out by wine and women. His cheeks were deeply sunken and pale. "Sister, he is the third prince." Yu Xianxian's heart tightened, and she explained in a low voice. She had promised her brother-in-law that she would take a detour when she saw the third prince. She did not expect to bump into him so coincidentally. Although the Heaven Prayer restaurant was owned by the third prince was often reluctant to leave the street of fireworks and rarely visited the restaurant. "Yu Xianxian, you dare to come out instead of hiding at my second brother's place." The third prince waved his folding fan, pretending to be elegant, and smiled sinisterly. "It's the order of our parents. Your father has already sent you to me as a concubine, but you're staying in the second prince's mansion without any reason. Do you really think that I'm easy to talk to?" Yu Xianxian's heart tightened, and her palms started to sweat. Her face was pale, and there was fear in her eyes. Yun Luo Feng looked at the third prince, and the words that Qi Su had told her surfaced in her mind. In the kingdom of Tianqi, although the civil and military officials supported the second prince as the crown prince, the emperor was biased and wanted to support the third prince. Unfortunately, the third prince was useless, so all these years, the two princes did not have a title, nor did they have a crown prince. Moreover, even concubine Qin's son was done by the third prince. Chapter 1920. Because if he could seize the opportunity to take over the drifting wind country, the officials would have nothing to say and he would naturally become the crown prince. Unfortunately, concubine Qin was unable to accomplish anything and he became even more wary of Mu Zhentian's love for Mu Xuexin. He had lost this battle miserably. Of course, how could a person who was obsessed with women like the third prince come up with a real solution? The only thing he could use was his usefulness as a man. Just as Yun Luofeng was thinking about Chi Su's words, the third prince's gaze landed on her face. In that instant, his eyes were filled with amazement and his heart seemed to be shaken. The woman in front of him was dressed in snow-white clothes and was as beautiful as a painting. Even the third prince, who had seen countless women, had never seen such a stunning beauty. If he could have such a beauty, he would even be willing to spend a night with her. "Yu Xianxian, it's fine if you don't want to be my concubine. Why don't you give your friend to me?" The third prince lifted his chin slightly and said arrogantly. Yu Xianxian was so angry that her face turned red. "Dream on. Sister Yun is my benefactor, don't you dare have any ideas about her. Yu Xianxian, I'm only asking you because I'm giving you face. Otherwise, do you think you can stop me?" The third prince smiled disdainfully. He didn't look at Yu Xianxian anymore. He raised his hand and was about to touch Yun Luofeng's face. "Beauty, seeing that you're so beautiful, I'll overlook your mistake as long as you're willing to serve me well." Mo Qianqing had been standing beside Yun Luofeng the entire time. When he saw the third prince's hand, his eyes flashed with anger. He suddenly sneered, his eyes full of mockery. This fellow even dared to touch her. Did he really not know how to spell the word death? The third prince didn't care. He could have as many women as he wanted in the country of Tianqi. How many women could resist the imperial power? However, just as his hand was about to touch Yun Luofeng's face, an evil and cold voice that seemed to come from hell slammed into his heart. "Were you talking about me just now?" Her voice was very cold, but it wasn't that kind of coldness. Instead, it was a kind of evil coldness. Just hearing her words was enough to make one's heart tremble in fear. Even the third prince's hand, which was about to touch Yun Luofeng's cheek, stopped on the spot because of this sentence. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes and looked at the finger in front of her. A cold light flashed across her eyes. Then, she pinched the man's wrist and exerted force. "Ah!" A heart-wrenching scream resounded through the entire street. Silence, the street in front of the Heavenly Prayer Tower was silent. It was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Everyone's eyes widened. Their eyes were filled with shock, astonishment, and deep disbelief. Yu Xianxian covered her mouth in astonishment, and her whole body started shaking. Of course, it was because of excitement. One had to know that no one in the kingdom of Tianqi dared to attack the third prince. After the excitement, she was filled with worry. Yun Luofeng injured the third prince, and the emperor doted on this son so much. He would definitely cause trouble for Yun Luofeng. No. She had to hurry back to discuss this matter with her brother-in-law and find out how to salvage the situation. Mo Qianqing's face was calm, and there was a cold smile on his face. The third prince of the kingdom of Tianqi was really tired of living for daring to attack this woman. "Sister." Yu Xianxian tilted her head and tugged at Yun Luofeng's sleeve worriedly. "Follow me back to the second prince's residence. The third prince will definitely take revenge on you." Chapter 1921. Yun Luofeng didn't seem to hear Yu Xianxian. She turned to look at Mo Qianqing. "Why are you here?" Mo Qianqing's face was full of resentment. "It's that bastard Ji Zhoutian's fault. I listened to you guys and went to find Ji Zhoutian. In the end, he happened to open this space. It's fine if he wanted to leave, but when he was about to leave, he pulled me along and dragged me to this place." Mo Qianqing was indignant. "More importantly, I didn't have the chance to ask him. Ever since he came to this mainland, Mo Qianqing's life hadn't been easy. Plus, his powers were sealed, so he basically fled all the way here. Luckily, he was lucky and found a few spiritual herbs on a spiritual beast's corpse. Who knew that this would lead to all this? Yu Xianxian, go back first. Yun Luofeng glanced at Yu Xianxian and said, I need to go back to the inn. Qi Su is still there. Even though the second prince had invited them to stay in the prince's residence, she still felt that it was inconvenient. Thus, she could only stay in the inn. Yu Xianxian's heart was filled with the third prince's revenge. She didn't force her to stay and nodded. Okay. Sister Yun, wait for me at the inn. Brother-in-law and I will think of a way for you. Then, she gritted her teeth and ran toward the second prince's residence. The only one who could help Sister Yun now was brother-in-law. Why are you still following me? Yun Luofeng asked coldly as he turned around and saw Mo Qianqing following behind him. She helped Mo Qianqing once because she didn't want these people to overreach themselves and let him break the seal. That would bring her trouble. Mo Qianqing paused and bit his lips. Ju. Yun Luofeng, I want to follow you. He was just about to call Yun Luofeng Ju Qian when he remembered what the woman said earlier and quickly stopped. Follow me. Yun Luofeng sneered. Are you sure you want to follow me? Mo Qianqing's eyes turned. You know that this mainland is dangerous. If you leave me alone, I will definitely be hunted down. Then, if I accidentally break the seal, Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Are you threatening me? I just want to follow you. It wasn't easy for that damned Yun Xiao to not be by her side, so how could he possibly let go of such a good opportunity? If you want to follow me, it's not impossible. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled up slightly, forming an evil smile. It just so happens that I'm lacking a servant. If you can sweep the floor, do the laundry, cook, and clean the toilet, then you can stay. Mo Qianqing was stunned. Sweeping the floor, washing clothes, and cooking was fine, but cleaning the toilet. Could she tell him where the toilet was? Do you still remember the illusion Ju Qian left behind? I have already rebuilt it. My people are all cultivating in the illusion. From now on, the task of cleaning the illusion will be handed over to you. This way, my subordinates can focus on cultivating. The corners of Mo Qianqing's mouth twitched a few times, but he also understood that this was the only way for him to stay by her side. He took a deep breath and said, Okay, I'll do it. In any case, he no longer wanted to live this kind of life as a fugitive. It was safer to hide by her side. In reality, Yun Luofeng had her considerations for keeping Mo Qianqing. After thinking for a long time, she still felt that keeping this ticking time bomb by her side was the safest. Everything else was just a punishment for him. Chapter 1922. At the inn. Yun Luofeng had just walked into Qi Su's room when she saw a subordinate of the Qi family walk out. She turned to look at the subordinate, then looked at Qi Su. Qi Su, how much of the elixir does the elixir gathering hall have left? Qi Su was startled. I think there are more than 1,000 bottles. Okay, the elixir gathering hall will temporarily stop selling the elixir. I want you to wholeheartedly provide the second prince's army with the elixir. Yun Luofeng's voice was very serious, making Qi Su's heart suddenly tense. What happened? Actually, it's nothing much. I just crippled the third prince. Yun Luofeng rubbed his nose and replied in a light and breezy manner. Qi Su's mouth twitched a few times. His heart was suddenly shaken. She crippled the third prince. And she said it was nothing. His master's personality was really similar to his master's. His former master, no matter how strong the enemy he faced, was still calm and indifferent. It was as if he could block the sky with his hands even if it collapsed. Okay, I will now prepare more elixir for the second prince. Qi Su took a deep breath, her expression was rather helpless. Also, Yun Luofeng pointed at the youth behind him. this guy will follow you for now. Just let him sleep on the ground. Only then did Chi Su see the silver-haired youth behind Yun Luofeng. The youth was very handsome and green. Even his ragged clothes could not conceal his entire temperament. He is. Chi Su looked at Yun Luofeng curiously, as if he wanted to ask about this youth's background. Unexpectedly, before he could finish, he was interrupted by the youth's plaintive voice. I don't want to sleep in the same room with a man. Yun Luofeng, I want to sleep with you. Even if he slept outside her door, as long as he was close to her, that would be enough. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes dangerously and smiled wickedly. Do you think you have a choice? The youth was immediately silenced. His eyes were full of pity as he stared at Yun Luofeng like a resentful wife. Chi Su could see that there was something fishy about the two of them. In particular, the way the youth looked at Yun Luofeng was like a resentful wife who had been abandoned by an unscrupulous husband. There was no need to mention how pitiful and wronged he was. Then, you won't leave me behind secretly, will you? The youth asked weakly. Who asked him to have no power now? If this was in the past, he would not be afraid of being abandoned. At worst, he would just chase Yun Luofeng wherever he went. Leave you behind. Let you be bullied and humiliated by the powerhouses of the wind and cloud continent until you finally broke the seal yourself. I'm not that stupid. Yun Luofeng coldly smiled. Chi Su, I'll leave the task of watching him to you. If he dares to make any strange movements, immediately come and tell me. Yun Luofeng walked slowly toward Enchanting. As he lowered his eyes, the killing intent in them gradually surged. Enchanting, I know I can't kill you now. However, if you want to touch Yun Shao again, even if I have to risk my life and use everything I have, I will make sure that both of us suffer. She did not believe Enchanting. He had never believed it. When this youth had appeared, he had wanted to kill her and Ji Zhoutian. If she had not impersonated Zhu Qian, she would have already died in his hands. It was also because she had impersonated Zhu Qian that Enchanting had developed enmity towards Yun Shao and wanted to kill Yun Shao. That was why Yun Luofeng had allowed Chi Su to stay close to him. Enchanting's body trembled. Chapter 1923. Of course, it wasn't because he was afraid. It was because Yun Luofeng's words had hurt his heart. Zhu Qian was the person he didn't want to hurt the most in the past. Hence, at the last moment, he regretted it and was trapped in an illusion by Zhu Qian. Even when he first attacked Yun Luofeng and Ji Zhoutian, it wasn't because of hatred, but because of resentment. He resented Zhu Qian for so many years, and he resented Zhu Qian even more for not coming to see him for so many years. However, Enchanting understood that if it wasn't for his initial mistake, Zhu Qian wouldn't have been so cruel to him. Hence, he was willing to use his entire life to make up for it. However, Enchanting's heart was filled with jealousy when he thought of Yun Luofeng's words. He was jealous of Yun Shao for being able to make her give her heart and treat him so well. At this moment, a commotion came from outside. Yun Luofeng frowned slightly and looked at Enchanting. He said in a low voice, "You wait here. Chi Su, follow me out to take a look." Chi Su nodded and followed Yun Luofeng out. A group of soldiers rushed in from downstairs of the inn and surrounded the entire inn. The leader of the soldiers was dressed in armor and looked majestic. "We are here to arrest the criminal who injured the third prince. Unrelated people, leave immediately." As soon as he said this, the people who were originally standing in the inn fled in unison. It was also at this moment that the leader of the soldiers saw a woman dressed in white in the corridor of the second floor. "It's this woman. She injured the third prince." The manager of the begging heaven brothel walked out from among the soldiers and immediately pointed at Yun Luofeng as he shouted, "Men, take this woman down." The leader of the soldiers waved his hand and shouted loudly. In an instant, the soldiers pulled out their weapons at the same time and quickly surrounded Yun Luofeng and Chi Su in the corridor of the second floor. Yun Luofeng glanced at the soldiers who were rushing over, and his cold voice quickly reached everyone's ears. "I was indeed the one who crippled the third prince, because he deserved to be crippled." The leader of the soldiers nearly exploded in anger. He sneered and looked at the woman in the snow-white dress mockingly, his eyes full of mockery. This woman dared to be so arrogant in their kingdom of Tianqi. Did she really not know what courting death was? Seeing the soldiers rush up to the second floor, the people hiding in the private rooms also opened a gap and watched the situation outside. In an instant, Yun Luofeng's body was engulfed in red flames. The flames quickly turned into an 8-tailed fire fox. The fire fox opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of flames. The soldier at the forefront was instantly annihilated by the flames. In the meantime, countless gold-seeking mice also appeared. They squeaked and bit anyone they saw, their sharp teeth piercing into the skin of the person they saw. TT appeared at the same time, its huge body pressing down on the group of soldiers. With an angry roar, flames shot out like fireballs crashing into their chests. The small tree and the bug did not appear. To them, a battle of this level was not worthy of them taking part. Little Mo had always been lazy. From the time he followed Yun Luofeng until today, he rarely fought on the battlefield. But he still appeared, sitting on the banister of the stairs, watching the play. Not to mention the others, even Chi Su was stunned. He had followed Yun Luofeng for a few months, but this was the first time he had seen these spirit beasts. Moreover, each of these spirit beasts was very powerful. The leader of the soldiers was shocked, and a layer of cold sweat dripped down his forehead. He gritted his teeth and said, "Stupid girl, this is the kingdom of Tianqi. His Majesty will not let you off for hurting the third prince in the kingdom of Tianqi. Let's retreat." Chapter 1924. You want to leave? Seeing that the soldier was about to leave, Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a faint smile. "Do you think my place is a place where you can come and go as you please?" Boom! A powerful pressure pressed down on him. The soldier's legs trembled and he knelt on the ground. He was drenched in sweat and his face was pale. "What do you want?" "Kowtow and admit my mistake. A soldier can be killed, but not humiliated." The leader of the soldiers straightened his neck and said with a red face, "Is that so? If that's the case, then I'll kill you." Yun Luofeng quickly pulled out his long sword and threw it towards the leader of the soldiers. The soldier was so scared that he wet his pants. He hurriedly kowtowed. "Heroine, I was wrong. Please let me go." What was dignity worth in order to live? Nothing was more important than living. The sword suddenly stopped. The sharp tip of the sword was only a millimeter away from his neck. If he had kowtowed a little later, blood would have spilled on the spot. Even so, the soldier was still so scared that his face turned pale. He felt that death was so close to him that he found it difficult to breathe. "Speak. Who sent you here?" Yun Luofeng looked up. "The third prince's subordinates should not be as weak as you. Don't look at how useless the third prince was. In reality, the emperor loved him so much that he would definitely send elites to protect him. And this group of people were just some ordinary soldiers. Their strength was extremely weak. It's the second daughter of the Jian family. She came to complain that you injured the third prince. We came here on our own to curry favor with the third prince." The second daughter of the Jian family. Jian Yi. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. It seemed that the Jian family was also outside the Begging Heaven Pavilion just now. And at that time, he only noticed Imo Qianqing. He didn't see anyone else. Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng's eyes swept across the crowd and saw Jian Yi. Her face was pale with fright and her body trembled slightly. Even if this group of soldiers was weak, Jian Yi didn't think that Yun Luofeng would have the guts to threaten these soldiers and say her name. The funny thing was, Jian Yi had forgotten that since Yun Luofeng dared to beat up the third prince, what else wouldn't she do? The brain was indeed a good thing, but not everyone had it. Noticing Yun Luofeng's gaze, Jian Yi was so frightened that she wanted to run away. However, the moment she turned around, a fiery figure blocked her way. A little girl in red smiled at her. "My master hasn't allowed you to leave yet." "Who allowed you to leave?" Jian Yi shouted angrily. He waved his hand and was about to hit the little girl. "Get lost." Hearing this, the little loli's face darkened. With a loud bang, her fist landed on Jian Yi's body, sending her flying into the inn. She landed right next to Yun Luofeng's feet. Since fire had appeared in the form of an 8-tailed fire fox at the beginning, Jian Yi had never thought that the little loli in front of him was the ferocious fire fox. Jian Yi rubbed her arm, which was hurting from the fall, and wanted to get up from the ground, but the moment she raised her head, she saw a pair of cold, black eyes. In that instant, with a loud bang, her brain was about to explode. Yun Luofeng crossed his arms over his chest and looked at Jian Yi with a smile that wasn't a smile. "I already knew that your Jian family wouldn't let this matter rest, but I didn't think that you would use such a stupid method. Could it be that you think that these soldiers can subdue me?" Chapter 1925. From Yun Luofeng's words, Jian Yi could hear another layer of meaning. This woman had never placed the Jian family in her eyes from beginning to end. She did not exterminate the Jian family that night, not because she was afraid of the royal family that the Jian family relied on, but because she did not think that the Jian family could cause her any trouble. Jian Yi panicked. She was well aware of her father's hatred for Yun Luofeng, but she had a feeling that the Jian family could not defeat this woman. No. Not only the Jian family, but perhaps even the royal family could not defeat her. In her entire life, Jian Yi was smart for once. Alas, it was too late. Chi Su, go to the Jian family and inform them that if they want Jian Yi's life back, they will have to use the 2 spirit medicine mountain ranges of the Jian family to exchange for it. Didn't the Jian family spy on the Qi family's spirit medicine mountain range? Then now, she wanted Jian Bowen to personally spit out the 2 mountain ranges and deliver them to her personally. Jian Bowen is such a greedy person, will he agree to this condition? Chi Su was stunned, his tone filled with doubt. Yun Luofeng smiled. He will agree because he only has one daughter, Jian Yi, who is of some value. Although Jian Yi had a big chest, she was very beautiful. In addition, of the 3 daughters of the Jian family, one was dead and one was crippled. Only Jian Yi was still alive. If Jian Bowen wanted to use this daughter to exchange for greater benefits, then he would definitely be willing to give up 2 spirit medicine mountain ranges. Fire, you and the rats guard Jian Yi, don't let her escape. After giving these instructions, Yun Luofeng let Cha Cha return to the divine grimoire space first, then returned to his room. At this time, she still did not know that a storm had been stirred up in the court of the state of Tianqi. The throne room. Qi Ba sat on the dragon throne, his face solemn and his eyes cold. "Second brother, where is the woman who injured third brother? Hand her over immediately." Qi Ling's expression did not change. "Father, this is third brother's fault. If he did not want to molest Miss Yun, she would not have retaliated." "Impudent!" Qi Ba shouted angrily. "Third brother is a prince, what wrong did he do?" In our opinion, it's all because that woman doesn't have self-respect. A fly doesn't bite a seamless egg. If it wasn't for her lack of self-respect, how could Lao San possibly target her? In Chibahi's eyes, when a man took a fancy to a woman, it was because that woman was unbearably slutty. Otherwise, why would the third prince not take advantage of others, but instead set his eyes on her? Wasn't she the one who seduced the third prince? All the civil and military officials shook their heads and sighed, their faces filled with disappointment. Although His Majesty had not been wise in the past, he had not been so muddle-headed and tyrannical. Now, his actions had truly broken everyone's hearts. Qi Lingjin clenched his fists. He knew that his father was biased, but he did not know that his father was biased to such an extent that he could not tell right from wrong. Father, is it wrong for a woman to be beautiful? Because of her beauty, she was taken advantage of, but she declared that the man is innocent and the fault lies with the woman. Qi Ling laughed coldly. How innocent are all the women in the world? To bear such a groundless accusation? Your Majesty, just as Chiba was about to continue speaking, the beautiful woman at the side sobbed and said, "Please, you must seek justice for this concubine's imperial son. This concubine understands my imperial son's personality the best. He is so obedient, so it is impossible for him to commit such a frivolous act. Someone must have framed him." Seeing his beloved concubine sobbing, Chibahi's heart softened. His sharp gaze shot towards Qi Ling's second brother. "I know that you have always been unconvinced by your younger brother, but the imperial preceptor once said that Lao San's future is limitless. In the future, he will definitely be a person who will ascend to the throne and lead the kingdom of Tianqi to unify the four kingdoms. So, as his elder brother, not only did you not help him, but you even conspired with outsiders to harm him. What are your intentions?" Chapter 1926. Seeing Qi Ling's silent expression, Qi Ba's tone softened. "Second brother, there are so many women in the world. Since your brother has taken a liking to her, why not give this woman to him? She should go to third brother to receive punishment. It was just a woman. He could have as many women as he wanted. Why would second brother bully his own brother for a woman?" Qi Ling smiled coldly. "Woman? Then do you know that this woman you speak of not only managed to kill the heavenly god from Drifting Wind Nation, but she also came out unscathed?" The entire hall sucked in a breath of cold air at Qi Ling's words. As far as they knew, the person who injured the third prince was a young woman in her 20s. She had the strength to defeat a god at such a young age. How horrifying was she? The woman you speak of can make Qi Su listen to her. She is also the master of the spirit-gathering medicinal hall. Qi Ling of the Qi clan could not cultivate since she was young. She is also the woman you look down on. She used her superb medical skills to cure her. Perhaps you do not know who Qi Ling is. However, when the emperor of Drifting Wind Nation fell ill, everyone was helpless. You should know this, right? She was also the one who cured Muzhintian. Qi Ling did not understand. What right did his father have to look down on women? Did he not know that the woman he looked down on was terrifyingly strong? You want to make a move on her? Sure. The Emperor of Drifting Wind Nation views her as his benefactor. If you hurt her and news of this spreads to Drifting Wind Nation, it will lead to a war between the two nations. Actually, Qi Ling wanted to say, look at the Emperor of Drifting Wind Nation, then look at yourself. Can you compare to a tenth of the wise Emperor of Drifting Wind Nation? Qi Ba's expression turned extremely unsightly. He had not expected Yun Luofeng to have such a powerful background. Just the thought of a war between two nations made him afraid, Your Majesty. The beautiful woman in palace attire beside him pouted and large teardrops rolled down her cheeks. She looked pitiful. My beloved concubine, don't worry. We will make it up to third brother. This time, Qi Ba did not mention how to deal with Yun Luo Feng. Imperial father, this son is here to discuss another matter. Qi Ling raised his head slightly. It is regarding the four-nation youth competition that will take place in a few months. This son would like to bring some people there. Qi Ba's expression changed slightly. In reality, he only wanted the third prince to go to the competition alone. Furthermore, because of what the imperial advisor had said before, he was very confident that the third prince would be able to win. Therefore, when he heard Qi Ling's words, he said perfunctorily, "Your third brother is enough. You don't have to waste time. You won't be the champion anyway, father. The competition doesn't stipulate how many people can participate, nor does it stipulate that each country can only send one team. When the time comes, third royal brother and I can sign up separately. It won't cause too much loss. Under normal circumstances, in order to win, each country would send out several teams. If they were unlucky, perhaps two teams from their own country would meet in the competition and choose one. In other words, if they were lucky, with so many teams, there would definitely be one who would succeed, right? Your Majesty, I think that what the second prince said is reasonable." The ministers in the imperial court agreed. In any case, no matter how many teams go, the kingdom of Tianqi will not lose out, right? That's right, Your Majesty. Let the second prince bring his team. No matter who wins, it will be a blessing for the kingdom of Tianqi. Chapter 1927. Seeing that all the ministers had said so, Qi Ba could not be too forceful. He could only maintain a cold expression on his face. Since that's the case, second brother, we allow you to bring people to participate. I hope you don't disappoint us and don't drag your younger brother down. Drag him down. Qi Ling smiled disdainfully. That kind of person who had been hollowed out by wine and women would probably be smashed to smithereens the moment he stepped onto the stage. He really did not know where father got his confidence from to think that he would definitely win. Was it just based on the imperial tutor's words? Even if third brother really had the potential back then, after so many years of father's indulgence and pampering, he had also become a worthless piece of mud. If there's nothing else, court is dismissed. Qi Ba's voice was cold and solemn, his face expressionless. Long live the emperor. All the ministers fell to their knees and respectfully sent Qi Ba off. After Qi Ba had left, they stood up and walked out of the throne room. Somewhere, in a courtyard as beautiful as a mural, a man stood facing the wind on top of a rock garden. He was dressed in black robes and looked very cold. His face, which looked like it had been paralyzed, gradually showed a trace of emotion. This emotion came and went quickly. In just a moment, he had regained his cold expression. Suddenly, the man heard the sound of footsteps behind him. He quickly took out a mask and covered his astonishing face. Master. A man dressed in a yellow dragon robe had stepped forward. His face was full of respect as he greeted him respectfully. The man replied in a low voice. How's the person I asked you to find? Master, I've already asked the imperial family's experts to find him for you. I'm sure we'll have news very soon. The yellow-robed man looked at the man standing in front of him. In a daze, he recalled the scene of this man's first appearance. What kind of god was he? He had descended from the heavens, cold, noble and powerful. Especially when this man's tone was too arrogant. He wanted to subdue his entire country the moment he opened his mouth. This arrogant tone had angered two of the imperial family's experts to the point of fighting him. That battle did not last long. The two imperial family experts were defeated in front of everyone's eyes. As for this man, he was as cold and noble as when he first appeared. Even his hair was not messed up. It was as if the battle just now was as simple as waving his hand. It was also from that day onwards that the high and mighty emperor himself had been reduced to his slave. Thinking of this, the yellow-robed man had the urge to cry, but in front of this man, he did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. You have 3 days. Find her within 3 days, or else, your Purple Moon Kingdom will no longer exist. The man's voice was cold and ruthless, like a heavy hammer. It hit the Purple Moon Kingdom's emperor's heart, making his heart tremble. Yes, master, I'll send more people to help you find them. The Purple Moon Kingdom's emperor resisted the urge to cry. He respectfully cupped his fists, turned around and hurriedly left the courtyard. After he left, the man took off his mask, revealing his handsome face. Feng, wait for me. It won't be long before I return to your side. Under the azure sky, the figure of a woman that was as beautiful as a painting seemed to appear, causing his cold eyes to gradually soften. Chapter 1928. The Purple Moon Kingdom. In the Imperial Palace, the man in the dragon robe flicked his long sleeves and slowly walked towards the cabinet. At this moment, a burst of laughter came from the front, causing his brows to wrinkle tightly. When the palace maids saw the man in the dragon robe coming, they were shocked and hurriedly knelt in a row and said in unison, "Greetings, Your Majesty." Perhaps it was the voice of the palace maids that made the girl who was laughing like a bell stop. She saw the man in the dragon robe walking quickly and playfully stuck out her tongue. "Father, why are you here? This girl looks delicate and charming, her eyes are full of spirit, but even so, it can't hide her inherent pride." Feng. The man in the dragon robe frowned coldly. He waved his hand and signaled the other people present to retreat. Then he said in a serious voice, "You're messing around with the group of palace maids and eunuchs in these places again. If you have this leisure time, why don't you learn etiquette? Father will give you to the Ghost Emperor." "Father." Qiao Yefeng's face completely changed. "Daughter, don't marry the Ghost Emperor. He's so ugly, he's not worthy of me at all." The man's face suddenly became cold. "What nonsense are you talking about? How did you know that the Ghost Emperor is ugly?" Qiao Yefeng snorted, her tone was full of disdain. "If he's not ugly, why does he wear a mask? Even so, with the Ghost Emperor's strength, he's more than enough to match you." The man in the dragon robe glanced at Qiao Yefeng. "To be honest, the Ghost Emperor recently asked me to find a woman. That woman's relationship with him is not simple. I never thought of letting you be his wife. From the beginning, I wanted to give you to him as a concubine." With a swish, Qiao Yefeng's face turned pale and her body staggered a little. She couldn't believe her father who once loved her so much. Why? Why did father want to give her to him as a concubine? A man who doesn't even dare to see people, why would he want to take her as a concubine? "Father, did the Ghost Emperor ask you to come to me?" Qiao Yefeng quickly regained her composure. She gritted her teeth and said, "Go tell him that he can forget about it. I will never marry an ugly man." Looking at Qiao Yefeng's unyielding expression, the dragon-robed man's eyes turned cold. "This emperor is telling you, this matter is not up to you. Guards, take the princess away and detain her. Without my order, she is not allowed to take 2 steps out of the room." Hearing this, 2 guards stepped forward, intending to drag Qiao Yefeng away. Qiao Yefeng struggled with all her might, her face flushed with anger. "Imperial father, not to mention being a concubine, I won't even be a wife. Go and tell him to give up." The man in the dragon robe didn't seem to hear Qiao Yefeng's words as he coldly watched the 2 guards take her away. From afar, Qiao Yefeng's angry voice could be heard, "Ghost Emperor, you bastard who dares to spy on this princess. This princess will never forgive you. An ugly freak like you wants to Og. The man in the dragon robe was obviously frightened by Qiao Yefeng's words. Before she could say anything more excessive, he directly asked the guards to cover her mouth. At this moment, a layer of cold sweat had already appeared on his forehead. Fortunately, the Ghost Emperor doesn't live in the palace. Otherwise, if these words were heard by him, the whole Purple Moon Kingdom would be doomed. Qiao Yefeng has been determined to die. It must be the Ghost Emperor who coveted her beauty, that's why he asked his father to force her. Otherwise, how could her father propose to make her a concubine for no reason? Chapter 1929. Even if the Ghost Emperor is strong, she will never like an ugly monster. Unfortunately, Qiao Yefeng couldn't resist and was directly dragged back to the princess palace by the guards and imprisoned. She was so angry that she swept all the tea bowls on the table to the ground, her chest undulating. The Ghost Emperor is really not a thing. I don't know where he got the courage to peep at this princess. This princess is the most beautiful woman in the Purple Moon Kingdom. How can an ugly monster match me? Princess, the palace maid on the side carefully glanced at Qiao Yefeng. After the Ghost Emperor came to the Purple Moon Kingdom, he asked His Majesty to send someone to find a woman. So, according to this servant, that woman must be the Ghost Emperor's lover. Maybe it's just His Majesty acting on his own initiative to make the princess. Even though Qiao Yefeng is unruly and willful, she will not bully the servants. Therefore, this palace maid dared to say such words in front of Qiao Yefeng. Tsk, Qiao Yefeng sneered, her eyes were full of disdain. Do you think, as an ugly woman, how good can she be? Can she be compared to this princess? When the Ghost Emperor fought with the two strong men, this princess was also present. He must have noticed this princess at that time. Qiao Yefeng gritted her teeth in hatred. If he has the ability, he should pursue this princess by normal means. How dare he let Imperial Father threaten me? The more he does this, the more this princess hates him. The palace maid lowered her head and no longer spoke. She always felt that the Ghost Emperor, such a powerful and frightening man, would not fall in love with her at first sight as the princess said. Moreover, such a man will certainly disdain to use power to force a woman. Qiao Yefeng took a deep breath. Moreover, in this world, the man who can make this princess look at him must not only be strong, but also peerless. The Ghost Emperor is not worthy of me. But, His Majesty, he. The palace maid said in a cautious tone. Before she finished speaking, she was interrupted by Qiao Yefeng's fierce voice. In his dreams, I will never give in. The palace maid bowed her head deeply again. She always felt that His Majesty will not give up easily. At the same time, in the study, the man in dragon robes, Qiao Yun, was holding a book in his hand. Beside him, a beautiful woman dressed in palace robes was serving him a cup of tea. Empress, Qiao Yun sighed. Go back and persuade Feng Er. If she is willing to become the Ghost Emperor's concubine, then the Ghost Emperor will stay in our Purple Moon Kingdom forever. The Empress was taken aback for a moment. Feng Er has always been a proud girl. I'm afraid it will be hard for her to accept being someone's concubine. Moreover, will the Ghost Emperor agree to this? This concubine is worried that giving him a concubine will anger that man. Qiao Yun chuckled. Isn't it normal for a man to have 3 or 4 wives? It was even more impossible for a powerful man like the Ghost Emperor to only have one woman. If I send him away, he will only thank me. Why would he be angry? However, the most important thing right now is to appease Feng Er so that she doesn't offend the Ghost Emperor. Yes, Your Majesty. The Empress lowered her head. Suddenly, the man's eyes appeared in her mind. They were cold, like a bottomless abyss, filling her with fear and struggle. Such a man, will he really accept Feng Er as a concubine? In fact, the Empress's heart was not sure and vaguely there was a burst of worry. However, the Emperor's decision, no one can change it. She can only listen to him. Chapter 1930. State of Tianqi. The second prince's residence. Qi Ling was just about to step out of the residence when he bumped into a woman walking towards him. He was momentarily stunned. "Miss Yun, I was just about to look for you when you came. I'm here to ask, when should we set off?" Yun Luofeng's eyes stared evilly at Qi Ling as she asked slowly. "As the four-nation competition will be held in Wind Cloud City, which is very far from the state of Tianqi, we will have to set off in about 3 days. Wind Cloud City." Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed. This continent was called the Wind Cloud Continent. Could it be related to Wind Cloud City? Qi Su, who had been following behind Yun Luofeng, was startled when he heard this. "When my master came to the Wind Cloud Continent from another continent, he was in Wind Cloud City." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng fell into deep thought. She stroked her chin with her finger. "In that case, tell me about the situation in Wind Cloud City." "All right, follow me. Let's go to the study and talk." Qi Ling's study was very simple. The bookshelves were filled with books, and a faint fragrance wafted from them. After he walked into the study, he had the guards bring over 2 stools and place them under Yun Luofeng and Qi Su so that they could sit down. "Lady Yun, Sir Qi Su, I'm not too sure about the specifics of Wind Cloud City. I'm guessing that only my imperial father knows the inside story." Qi Ling's expression was solemn. "However, I know that Wind Cloud City is the sacred land of the Wind Cloud Continent. If Wind Cloud City exists, the continent will also exist. Once Wind Cloud City is destroyed, the entire Wind Cloud Continent and everyone will disappear." Yun Luofeng fell silent. She remembered that the woman from the Qin family who had been captured on the God Vault Mountain had said that the Spirit God continent existed because someone had set up a formation many years ago to separate the 2 worlds. Furthermore, all the spiritual energy on the continent had been absorbed into the Spirit God continent. Based on this, the Wind Cloud continent and the Spirit God continent were similar. And Wind Cloud City was the heart of the formation. If the heart of the formation was destroyed, the Wind Cloud Continent would naturally disappear. As for these people, it was impossible for them to be destroyed by the heavenly Tao. They would probably enter the 7 continents. There were too many experts in the Windy Cloud Continent. If they were allowed to go to the 7 continents, it would definitely cause a commotion. She had too many relatives on the 7 continents. She would not allow such a thing to happen. What else? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Qi Ling muttered to himself for a while, "The people of the continent are afraid of accidentally destroying Wind Cloud City. Hence, to everyone, Wind Cloud City is a dead city. Other than during the 4-nation youth competition, no one is allowed to enter Wind Cloud City at any other time. Have you been to Wind Cloud City?" Yun Luofeng thought for a moment before continuing to ask. "Until now, I have never entered Wind Cloud City, so I don't know what Wind Cloud City looks like." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng did not ask any further. Even if he did, he would not be able to obtain any useful information from Qi Ling, however. Qi Ling paused for a moment before continuing, "When you enter Wind Cloud City, there's a place that you absolutely cannot enter." "What place?" Yun Luofeng's eyes brightened. Chapter 1931. Wind Cloud City Sacrificial Ground. Qi Ling paused for a moment before continuing, "Actually, no one has been there before. It is said that the sacrificial ground is surrounded by lightning. Once you enter, you will be attacked by the lightning. Furthermore, This lightning is even more terrifying than the lightning we encountered when we were breaking through. Yun Luofeng's mouth twitched. Even more terrifying than lightning. That was because they had never seen real lightning before. If she did not have the protection of the dragon scale armor and the puppet's ability to absorb lightning, she would have been killed by the lightning. Therefore, Yun Luofeng felt that no matter how terrifying that lightning was, it could not compare to the lightning from that time. How are the preparations going? Yun Luofeng suddenly asked. Qi Ling answered honestly, I have already selected all the elites in my hands. We will not lose this four-nation youth competition. When he said the last sentence, his voice suddenly became very domineering. He had the demeanor of a ruler. Compared to the third prince, the second prince, Qi Ling, was clearly more capable of leading the nation of Tianqi to the peak. Wait for me at the city gates in 3 days. We will set off together then. After saying this, Yun Luofeng took one last look at Qi Ling before turning to leave. Qi Su followed behind her, and they soon disappeared from the study room. 3 days later. At the city gates, Cici was muttering. Qi Ling was getting ready to set off when he suddenly saw the third prince, Qiyu, leading a group of people over. When their eyes met, sparks flew. Qiyu's eyes were filled with anger and disdain. He looked down at Qi Ling, who was standing in front of him. Why? Has your hand recovered? Qi Ling laughed coldly and asked expressionlessly. When he heard this, Qiyu's expression changed completely. He clenched his left hand tightly, but his right hand dangled weakly by his leg. Second royal brother, even if my hand is crippled, I still have the strength to become the champion of the four-nation youth competition. As for you. Qiyu's lips curled up in disdain. You are just sent by royal father to make up the numbers. Imperial mother had said that Qi Ling was going to Wind Cloud City because imperial father had sent him to make up the numbers. He could not possibly win. Because, back then, the imperial tutor had said that he would definitely be a person who would unify the four kingdoms. Compared to him, who was outstanding, Qi Ling would definitely be even more inferior. Really? Qi Ling smirked and glanced at his opponent's crippled arm. You've already lost an arm. How are you going to win? Qiyu took 2 steps forward, raised his chin high, and said in a domineering manner, although this prince was also worried at the beginning, it's a good thing that imperial concubine mother's words are very reasonable. It's not like you don't know the imperial preceptor of our kingdom of Tianqi. Even though the imperial preceptor is very weak, his prophecies have always been very accurate. Since he said that I am a person who can unify the 4 countries, then no matter what I become, I will win. His expression was very confident, as if he was certain that he would win. In fact, Qi Ling was well aware of the imperial tutor's capabilities. Especially after all these years, the imperial tutor had managed to maintain his youthful appearance. Based on this alone, one could tell that the imperial tutor was not a simple character. However, the imperial preceptor's prophecy was more than 10 years ago. More than 10 years could completely change a person. Even if Qiyu really had this talent, he had long become a hedonistic son of rich parents after being spoiled for so many years. Chapter 1932. How could such a hedonistic son unite the 4 countries? Then in this world, there was no such thing as trash. Qi Ling could not be bothered to speak to him anymore because he had already noticed Yun Luofeng and Qi Su walking over. However, behind the 2 of them was a youth. Compared to the relaxed expressions of the 2 people in front, the youth was laden with bags and his handsome face looked very aggrieved. He was sweating profusely and even walking was very strenuous. Anyone who saw him would feel sorry for him. Miss Yun, do you not have a space ring? Qi Ling looked at the youth who was laden with bags, then turned to Yun Luofeng and asked. With Yun Luofeng's strength, he should not have a space ring. Yun Luofeng shrugged. He likes to train his body. I do not have the heart to refute him, so I allowed him to carry these bags. Mo Qianqing's expression became even more aggrieved. But he understood that Yun Luofeng wanted to use this method to make him retreat. So, he would not do as she wished. The corners of Qi Ling's mouth twitched. Like to train his body. He had never seen anyone train their body in such a way. Humph. Qi Yu's expression darkened and he snorted coldly. Poor is poor, why find excuses? You don't even have a space ring. How can you be so poor? Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows slightly, her evil smile gradually falling on Qi Yu's face. What? You don't want your left hand either. This threat caused Qi Yu's expression to change greatly. Perhaps he thought of Yun Luofeng's terrifying nature and quickly stopped speaking. He was afraid that this woman would attack again. Moreover, when she attacked him, Imperial Father actually did not capture her. Even Imperial Mother told him to stay away from this woman. But, he was not satisfied. He was not satisfied with his defeat. Just wait and see. Throwing down these harsh words, Qi Yu led his group of subordinates out of the city gates. After he left, Qi Ling then said, Miss Yun, we should also leave. All right. Yun Luofeng nodded. Let's go. Finishing, she brushed her long sleeves and led the way towards the city gates. Yun Luofeng and the others did not know that behind them, a pair of venomous eyes were coldly staring at them. This is the woman who hurt my son. The noblewoman gripped her handkerchief so tightly that she almost broke it. Her eyes were vicious and sinister as she stared at the departing people. Your Highness, she is the woman who broke the third prince's hand. Humph. This consort won't take this woman's life for now. Once this consort's son rules over the 4 countries, it will be the time of her death. The imperial consort raised her chin slightly. Also, get the experts from the royal family to disguise themselves as bandits to ambush these people. However, tell them not to touch Qi Ling and that woman for now. Only kill his subordinates and let Qi Ling and that woman go to Wind Cloud City alone. Even though she knew that it was impossible for Qi Ling to win, she still wanted him to lose miserably. For the 4-nation youth competition, teamwork was extremely important. Otherwise, without a team, no matter how talented a single person was, it was impossible to win. A cold light flashed across the imperial consort's eyes at the thought of this. Her lips curled into a sinister smile. The journey from the Tianqi nation to Wind Cloud City was very long. Along the way, they had to pass through many dangerous mountain ranges. Fortunately, the people that Qi Ling brought this time were the elites of the team. There was no need for Yun Luofeng to do anything personally. Chapter 1933. Miss Yun, once we pass through this mountain range, we will soon reach Wind Cloud City. Qi Ling turned to look at the white-robed girl beside him and said. Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. Wait for me here. I will leave and return shortly. Qi Ling and the others were already used to Yun Luofeng disappearing for half a day at every mountain range. Thus, they did not say much and allowed her to leave. Of course, Yun Luofeng's departure was not for anything else, but there were many rare treasures on the Wind Cloud continent. Even the medicinal ingredients were of the highest quality than those on the 7 continents. Especially on such a mountain range, there were many precious medicinal ingredients. Thus, Yun Luofeng would gather all the precious medicinal ingredients on the mountain range every time she went to a place. Looks like it's about time. After Yun Luofeng collected the last medicinal ingredient, she looked at the gradually darkening sky and muttered to herself, those people should have rested enough. I should go back. Thinking of this, she turned around and was about to leave. But at this moment, the sound of a flute traveled over. Her pupils suddenly shrank and she raised her head to look in front of her. It was a young man dressed in white. His black hair was like a splash of ink, spreading out behind him. Countless birds circled above his head, circling incessantly as if they were playing along with his music. A faint maple leaf fell and landed on the young man's shoulder. He was like a person from a painting, giving off an extremely ethereal and unreal feeling. But this young man was not like Qin Yuqing's banished immortal. Although Qin Yuqing looked like a celestial being, she still gave people a feeling that she was a real existence. But the young man playing the jade flute in front of her had really walked out from the misty land. He was not very real. Yun Luofeng's heart was fiercely pounded. She covered her chest with her hand, as if a surge of emotion was gushing out. However, Yun Luofeng clearly knew that this kind of surging emotion did not originate from her own body. Zhu Qian? Zhu Qian had once told her that if she met his reincarnation one day, she would be able to recognize him at a glance. Now, the moment she saw this young man, she had a feeling in her heart. He was Zhu Qian. He was the Zhu Qian that she had been searching for all this time. Suddenly, the youth lifted his foot and left. That snow-white robe disappeared from Yun Luofeng's sight. Zhu Qian. Yun Luofeng called from behind him. Unfortunately, the youth did not turn around. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared into the forest. The birds that had been circling the sky also dispersed at this moment. Master, Little Mo's confused voice sounded, is he really Zhu Qian? I remember that the Zhu Qian in the painting was not such a person. Back then, when Yun Luofeng obtained Zhu Qian's inheritance, he also saw a painting. The man in the painting was dressed in red, sitting on a black dragon chair. His left hand was supporting his chin, and his right hand was pointing a middle finger at the sky, implying that even the heavens were not worthy of his attention. How could such a proud and powerful man be that white-robed youth? The two of them had completely different styles. I have a feeling that he is Zhu Qian. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. No wonder I couldn't find him even after searching the 7 continents. So he's in the Wind Cloud continent. This makes things easier. As long as he exists, I'll definitely find him again. Chapter 1934. Little Mo remained silent. Since Yun Luofeng felt that this young man was Zhu Qian, then it was very likely that he was. Master, it's getting late, Little Mo urged. She did not know why, but she felt a faint sense of unease in her heart. It was as if something big was about to happen. Yun Luofeng seemed to have sensed something and hurried towards the direction of the kingdom of Tian Qi's army. As these soldiers had just experienced a battle, they were resting in their original positions. Little Mo took this opportunity to leave the group to pick medicinal herbs. At this moment, in the forest, the setting sun was dyed red with blood. Qi Ling gripped his sword tightly in his hand. His face was stained with blood, and his gaze was very ferocious. Qi Su protected Mo Qianqing behind him as he faced this group of vicious and evil people with a solemn expression on his handsome face. More than half of the army was dead or injured. The remaining people would not be able to hold on for long. Second Prince, I don't think these people are bandits. Qi Su used his sword to block the attack, his voice cold. Looking at the group of people in front of him whose faces were covered, and even whose aura was concealed, Qi Ling let out a cold laugh. He wiped the blood off his face, and the curve of his lips was somewhat sinister. Are you people sent by Imperial Concubine Lin? Imperial Concubine Lin was the mother of the 3rd Prince, Qi Yu. Other than her, he could not think of anyone else. The group of people did not utter a word. Their attacks became more and more ferocious. They were even more merciless towards Qi Ling's elite troops. Qi Ling's heart gradually became anxious, and his heart was filled with anger. His elite troops, which he had trained for many years, were now completely annihilated here. No. He would never allow this to happen. Young Master Chi Su, take the others and escape. I will hold them off. Chi Ling gritted his teeth and said. He had already sensed that these people did not want to hurt him. After all, he was a prince of the kingdom of Tianqi. If anything were to happen to him, no one would be able to bear the consequences. However, they were merciless towards their own subordinates. It was easy to guess that Imperial concubine Lin wanted him to be a commander without an army. This way, they would definitely lose the hegemony competition. What a good plan. Chi Ling sneered. How could he let that woman succeed in her evil scheme? I'm afraid I can't do it. Chi Su took 2 steps back. I don't know if the second prince has noticed that there are 2 other auras that haven't appeared yet. Those 2 auras must belong to enlightened masters. I still have no way of escaping under their attacks, so I can only wait for Lady Yun's return. Chi Ling's eyes turned cold. In every country, there was a group of elders. Those who were able to join the group were all heavenly gods. Furthermore, the Council of Elders was an extremely important existence to the princes. Therefore, whether it was him or Imperial concubine Lin's group, they had all tried to rope in the Council of Elders. These Empyrean gods were obviously Imperial concubine Lin's subordinates. More importantly, these Empyrean gods had left the state of Tianqi, but the 2 people he had roped in from the elder group didn't send any news. If not for Father Emperor's permission, how could the matter of the God of Heaven leaving the group of elders on his own be concealed? Thinking of this, Chi Ling's eyes became colder and colder, and his heart felt cold. Most of the elites were already dead, and only a few were bitterly holding on. As for the 2 heavenly gods hiding in the dark, they still hadn't shown themselves. Chapter 1935. If Chi Su had not brought many healing elixirs with him, they would have long been annihilated. Mo Qianqing had been standing behind Chi Su all along. As he watched the group of murderous experts, his eyes shone with an obscure glint. Should he try his luck? Perhaps the seal would be undone. He suddenly made a decision. He walked around Chi Su and walked towards the group of black-clad experts. The black-clad experts naturally thought that Mo Qianqing was Chi Ling's subordinate and immediately attacked him. Mo Qianqing closed his eyes. A powerful pressure locked onto him. A fatal sense of danger came head-on, causing his entire body to be in a gale like a small boat. What are you trying to do? Chi Su's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly grabbed Mo Qianqing's arm and tried to pull him away. But at this moment, the black-clad expert who attacked Mo Qianqing was engulfed in raging flames. Shortly after, he turned into ashes in front of everyone's eyes. The aura that locked onto him had already disappeared. The sense of danger that he had just felt also disappeared without a trace. Mo Qianqing opened his eyes angrily. He was just about to see who had spoiled his plans when he suddenly met a pair of ice-cold eyes. His heart trembled at that moment. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. In reality, it was not that Mo Qianqing had never thought of using this method to undo the seal. Unfortunately, ever since he came here, he rarely met any true experts. Ordinary people couldn't kill him, let alone give him a sense of danger. Only that sense of danger could allow him to forcefully break the seal. He did not expect that the first time he implemented this plan, it would be discovered by Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng, Mo Qianqing wanted to explain, but saw that the woman in white had already turned around and swept her cold gaze across the black-clad experts present. Killing to your heart's content. Her voice was very cold, as if it came from hell, causing people to tremble with fear. Then now, it's my turn. Boom! Before those black-clad experts could react, a gale surged from the woman in white. Wherever the gale passed, not an inch of soil remained. Run! Anyway, most of the people were dead, and their mission was completed. Therefore, the black-clad experts did not hesitate and turned to flee. Go. It's too late. Boom. An earth-shattering pressure pressed down from the void. Those people's bodies trembled, and they couldn't help but stop in their tracks. In the meantime, the woman had already appeared behind them. She held a sharp, ice-cold weapon in her hand and slit the throat of the person closest to her. In an instant, that person's blood splattered on the spot. Her speed was too fast, so fast that no one could react. When they came back to their senses, the man was already dead. Chi-Su and the others finally felt relieved. As long as she was back, none of these people would be able to escape. Stop. After Yun Luofeng dealt with 2 more people, the 2 heavenly gods hiding in the dark finally made their move. 2 figures appeared in the void. One of them was dressed in a white robe and had the demeanor of an immortal. The other was dressed in a gray robe and looked rather mysterious. Miss, where it is possible to let people off, one should forgive them. The white-robed old man said indifferently, why must you be so ruthless towards these people? How could Yun Luofeng not see that these 2 old men were in cahoots with the group of murderous black-clothed men? Where it is possible to let people off, forgive them. Ruthless. Yun Luofeng laughed. Then what about their actions of killing people just now? I'm just taking revenge. A life for a life. They deserve to die. Chapter 1936. The white-robed elder's eyes darkened. I didn't see them kill anyone. I only saw you kill them. I had no choice but to come out and stop you. Oh. Does that mean that the people who died around me committed suicide? Or did they kill each other? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and laughed coldly. The white-robed elder's face was indifferent. That's hard to say. Are you stupid, or do you think that everyone in the world is stupid? It's obvious that my people were killed by this group of people. Are you still lying through your teeth? Yun Luofeng laughed coldly as he approached the 2 elders. Tell me, who sent you? Hearing this, the white-robed elder did not even raise his eyes. I don't know this group of people. I was just passing by and saw that you were bullying the weak. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I interfered. What if I insist on killing them? Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed with a dangerous light as his lips curled into a cold smile. Then don't blame me for being unreasonable. The white-robed elder's tone was as indifferent as ever. He had already stretched out his hand and attacked Yun Luofeng. The 2 elders had already heard of Yun Luofeng's strength from Imperial concubine Lin. Naturally, they did not dare to underestimate him. Therefore, after the white-robed elder attacked, the gray-robed elder also moved. The 2 of them did not hold back. Once they started fighting, they would give it their all. If anyone stops me from killing, I will kill that person today. Yun Luofeng's voice was domineering and pierced through the clouds, bringing a wave of echoes. At the same time, she summoned her dragon-scale armor. With a long sword in her hand, she quickly rushed in front of the 2 elders. The entire void trembled because of their battle. Chi-Su stood in the forest and watched Yun Luofeng fight in the void. His eyes were full of worry. That's not right. Qi Ling frowned slightly. I've seen all the Divine Realm experts in the royal family. I don't know these 2 people. Chi-Su was stunned. He turned to look at Qi Ling. Could it be that they weren't sent by Imperial concubine Lin? No, I feel that it was her. Only she would do such a thing. Qi Ling shook his head and said. Then what's going on? Chi-Su frowned. When Imo Qianqing heard their conversation, he couldn't help but interject, have you not heard of the appearance-changing technique? A person could even change their aura, so it was normal for them to change their appearance. After all, since the imperial concubine had done such a thing, she definitely didn't want anyone to use her against her. As such, she naturally asked these people to disguise themselves. As Enchanting thought about it, he couldn't help but look at Yun Luofeng, who was fighting with the two elders in the sky. No one knew what he was thinking in his pitch-black eyes, within the void. Yun Luofeng could no longer deal with it as easily as before. Even though she had once defeated a heavenly god, that was only because her opponent was alone. Now, there were two standing in front of her. Moreover, the dragon scale armor had a time limit. She had to finish them off within this time. Otherwise, once she lost the dragon scale armor, she would be even more unable to deal with them. Bang! The gray-robed old man suddenly appeared behind Yun Luofeng and punched her in the back. She fell a few meters forward. She slightly raised her head and narrowed her eyes with a hint of coldness. Miss Yun. Chi Su's heart clenched. He hated himself. If it wasn't for the fact that he was too weak, he wouldn't have been so helpless at this time. There were 3 more chapters in the afternoon. Chapter 1937. Young lady, do you know a saying? The white-robed elder looked at the lady in front of him and said calmly, Karma is in the cycle of the heavens. You killed someone just now, so you must pay the price now. Yun Luofeng wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and smiled slightly. Then let me give you a saying as well. Those who are unjust are doomed to destruction. Hearing this, the white-robed elder's expression turned cold and he snorted. You have a sharp tongue. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. Boom! In an instant, the white-robed elder's aura surged out once again and engulfed the entire void. At this moment, the sky had also turned gray and hazy. In mid-air, Yun Luofeng held a long sword in her hand and stood against the wind. Her expression was calm as her fine black hair fluttered in the wind. Master, let Azure Wings and Little Worm come out and help. Little Mo's worried voice rang out from Yun Luofeng's soul. Little Worm and Azure Wings had already broken through to become a deity. Moreover, one of them was an ancient ancestral dragon and the other was an immortal puppet. Even with the strength of a deity, they could deal with a sky god. But, Yun Luofeng shook her head indifferently. No, I can still hold on. Moreover, I reached a bottleneck a few days ago. Perhaps this battle can help me break through. Yes, from the beginning, Yun Luofeng had been prepared to deal with these 2 old men. Even if she couldn't do it, she still had Little Worm and Azure Wings. Unfortunately, she had already reached a bottleneck this time, so she decided to deal with the 2 of them on her own. Boom! As soon as Yun Luofeng finished speaking, the attacks of the white-robed elder and the gray-robed elder closed in on her. She hurried to meet the 2 old men head-on. The battle in the void became more and more intense, and the people below also became nervous. Enchanting's gaze was fixed on Yun Luofeng, who was fighting with the 2 old men. A red light gradually appeared in his pitch-black eyes, his fists were clenched tightly, and his youthful and handsome face was filled with anger. Yes, anger. Enchanting looked at the besieged woman. Suddenly, the image of that king-like man who had been chased by a group of strong cultivators surfaced in his mind. Bang! At this moment, the gray-robed old man's fist landed heavily on Yun Luofeng's body. Yun Luofeng's body was instantly sent flying like an arrow leaving a bow. No, don't. Enchanting's heart stopped beating at this moment. His eyes were filled with red light, and his long silver hair danced in the wind. His expression was terrifying, and he didn't look like the innocent and harmless young man he used to be. Kill. Kill all of them. Let them accompany us in death. To be buried with them, these 2 words leapt into Enchanting's mind. His mind also became blank, as if there was only one thought left in his mind: everyone present, no matter who it was, deserved to die. Those two deities deserved to die because they had harmed her. The second prince also deserved to die. If he hadn't attracted these people, she wouldn't have been in danger. Patter. The young man stood firmly on the spot. He could even clearly hear the sound of the seal in his body shattering. However, at this moment, there was only the falling figure of the woman in the young man's eyes. His eyes were bloodshot, as if they had been dyed with blood, and they carried a terrifying light. Chi Su and the others were all looking at Yun Luo Feng. Because of this, no one noticed Mo Qianqing's strange expression. Chapter 1938. Thump. Yun Luofeng's body landed heavily on the ground, creating a large crater. She wiped the blood from the corner of her lips and crawled up from the ground. Without any hesitation, she charged towards the two elders once again. The gray-robed elder's eyes were filled with shock as he said in a gloomy voice, "Little girl, you've made me look at you in a different light. You're still able to stand after receiving such a heavy blow. No wonder you've achieved so much at such a young age." Yun Luofeng raised her head and her pitch-black eyes were filled with light. Continue. This time, she made the first move and charged towards the gray-robed elder who was closest to her. The gray-robed elder dodged to the side and evaded Yun Luofeng's attack. His arm landed heavily on Yun Luofeng's shoulder, causing her to stumble a few steps back. She left a shadow in the sky. At that moment, Yun Luofeng could clearly feel the power of the dragon scale armor weakening. If she did not deal with it soon, she would not be able to defeat these two elders with her own power. "Little girl, it looks like you won't be able to hold on for much longer." In the beginning, Yun Luofeng had been able to evade his attacks. Now that her power was gradually weakening, she was clearly no match for them. However, the gray-robed elder also wanted to end the battle quickly. Hence, he did not give Yun Luofeng any chance to catch her breath and attacked her once again. Boom! A powerful force penetrated her body and caused Yun Luofeng to spit out a mouthful of blood. However, her body remained as hard as steel and showed no signs of collapsing. Continue. She touched the blood at the corner of her lips again and continued. Elder Bai. The gray-robed elder glanced at the white-robed elder and said eerily, "It's getting late, we should leave this place. This time, we don't need to hold back. Let's use all our power to kill her." "All right." The white-robed elder nodded. He slowly raised his hand and a hurricane gradually formed in front of his hand. The hurricane grew larger and larger as if it had the power to destroy heaven and earth, enough to destroy everything. The gray-robed elder did not show any weakness either. The hurricane swirled around him and even his gray robes were swirling in the wind. Forget about the all-out attack of these two old men, even if it was just one of them, this young woman would immediately turn into ashes. In a withered forest, Mo Qianqing's body was unable to move. His body was constantly emitting small cracking noises. Except for him, no one could hear these sounds. And when it saw that Yun Luofeng was in danger, the shattering sounds became faster and faster. With a loud bang, it broke through. Unfortunately, it was too late. The moment Mo Qianqing broke through the seal, the power of the two old men had already closed in on Yun Luofeng, instantly swallowing her body. No. Suddenly, Mo Qianqing's pupils shrank, his voice filled with pain and fear. "Miss Yun." Chi Su and Qi Ling's expressions also changed greatly. They quickly rushed towards the place where Yun Luofeng had just been standing. Mo Qianqing stood there in a daze. He looked at the place where Yun Luofeng had been swallowed, then turned to look at Qi Ling, whose face was full of anxiety. In that instant, a powerful killing intent shot out from his narrowed pupils. He clenched his fists tightly and his face contorted in pain. Was he the one who killed Yun Luofeng? That's right. If he had not lured these people here, Yun Luofeng would not have died. Hence, regardless of whether it was the two heaven gods or the people of the kingdom of Tianqi, they would all be buried with her. Chapter 1939. We've finally dealt with this woman. The gray-robed elder snorted coldly and said sinisterly, "Let's go, we should head back." However, just as the two of them turned around, an evil and domineering voice suddenly rang out from the dust-covered area. "Chi Su, get out of the way." The two old men froze when they heard the voice. Chi Su and Chi Ling were stunned for a second before they reacted. They quickly retreated a few hundred meters away. Mo Qianqing's lifeless eyes gradually lit up. He stared at the dust-covered sky, afraid to miss even the slightest bit. When the dust settled, Yun Luofeng's figure slowly appeared. The woman looked a little disheveled, but she still gave off an untainted feeling. The dragon-scale armor on her body had completely disappeared, and her white robe had also been destroyed to the point of being tattered. The white-robed elder turned around in shock. His eyes widened and his breathing quickened. "You didn't die. How could this be? How could this woman still be alive?" Yun Luofeng didn't answer him. He only smiled mysteriously. "I have a gift for you." "What?" Before the two old men could react, they heard a boom and a thundercloud suddenly appeared in the sky. The thundercloud glowed purple and thunder rumbled. Then, without warning, a bolt of lightning suddenly shot down. Ah! The two old men who were close to Yun Luofeng were naturally struck by the lightning as well. They wailed in pain. You broke through." Lightning tribulations only appeared when one broke through to the sky god level. But this woman had actually broken through at this time. "I should also thank you. If you hadn't helped me break through the bottleneck, I wouldn't have been able to become a sky god." The white-robed elder was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He gritted his teeth. "Do you think you can kill us with this lightning tribulations? Let me tell you, it's impossible. It's not like I haven't experienced lightning tribulations before." After all, he was also a sky god and had experienced lightning tribulations before. Lightning tribulations alone couldn't kill them. Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. "Unfortunately, my lightning tribulations are different from others." Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he finished speaking, another lightning tribulations appeared. This one was even more powerful than the previous one. It struck the two old men directly, causing them to wail in pain. But it wasn't over. The bolts of lightning were even more powerful than before. They rained down, leaving the two old men with no energy left to escape. "Ah!" The shouts of the two old men rang out one after another, causing everyone present to be dumbfounded. Chi Su stared blankly at the mighty thunder tribulations, his eyes glazed over. "Holy!" Suddenly, he let out an angry roar. Chi Ling came back to his senses and turned to look at him. "What happened?" Chi Su's expression kept changing. "Almost a year ago, someone near our drifting wind nation broke through to become a deity and triggered a thunder tribulation. That thunder tribulation was so fierce that it shocked all the powerful warriors in the drifting wind nation. Unfortunately, I thought that Lady Yun was just unlucky and was accidentally affected by the lightning tribulations. It seems that he was the one who triggered the lightning tribulations." Thinking of this, Chi Su took a deep breath. He remembered that Drifting Wind Nation had been searching for the powerhouse who triggered such a powerful lightning tribulations. He never thought that the powerhouse would be right beside him. Chapter 1940. Did you see that? Even the sky god powerhouses of the nation of Tianqi couldn't withstand such a lightning tribulation. In comparison, Yun Luofeng was calm and collected. His expression was as if he was drenched in the rain. In fact, no one knew that Yun Luofeng's body was already somewhat overwhelmed by the lightning attacks. However, she had to hold on and not let all her previous efforts go to waste. Fortunately, she had experienced this kind of lightning tribulation before and already had a certain resistance. Compared to the two old men, she was much better off. "Girl, you will definitely suffer retribution for being so vicious." The white-robed old man gritted his teeth. Blood was already flowing from the corner of his mouth as he spoke viciously. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile. "I was only breaking through. It was you who appeared by my side. The lightning doesn't recognize people, so who can you blame?" Indeed, the lightning wasn't Yun Luofeng's instigation. They could only blame their bad luck. Boom! The lightning tribulation was getting stronger and stronger. The two old men finally couldn't hold on any longer and fell to the ground. Using the last of his strength, the old man's voice was filled with anger. "Even if we die here, you won't be able to escape. The heavenly Tao won't let you off." This girl's talent was too strong. She actually attracted such a powerful heavenly Tao. If she was allowed to continue growing, the consequences would be unimaginable. After saying that, they had already lost all their strength. Their eyelids slowly became weak. Yun Yi. Just as the two old men lost their ability to resist, Yun Luofeng finally couldn't hold on any longer. Her body swayed as she suddenly called out. Swoosh! In an instant, a mighty and strong figure appeared in front of Yun Luofeng. It appeared out of thin air and blocked the violent lightning attacks. The lightning landed on Yun Yi's burly body, forging his physique until it was very smooth. However, Yun Yi remained expressionless. His expression didn't change at all. A puppet. Qi Ling and the others were stunned as they looked at Yun Yi, who blocked the lightning. Then, they saw a shocking scene. The lightning attacks that were originally violent were all absorbed by Yun Yi. After withstanding the lightning, Yun Yi's body emitted a powerful strength. His cold eyes were filled with dominance. A heavenly god. Under the forging of the lightning, this puppet actually became a heavenly god. Qi Ling and the others opened their mouths wide in surprise. Obviously, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. As for the two elders, originally, he was still filled with hope, thinking that Yun Luofeng would also die under the heavenly lightning. But now that he saw this scene, his expression changed greatly, and his eyes filled with fear. Kill them. Yun Luofeng's lips curled up slightly as he said in anger. In an instant, Yun Yi had already rushed in front of the two elders. Because the two elders had already lost their ability to fight, Yun Yi killed them as easily as cutting vegetables. With a swing of his blade, the two old men's chests were pierced by the blade. With the death of the heavenly deity, the others were utterly defeated. Under the threat of the azure wings, no one could escape. Yun Luofeng slowly came back to his senses and walked in front of Qi Su and the others. He looked at the dumbfounded Qi Ling and said, "Go and see if you recognize those two people." "All right." Qi Ling's eyes were filled with complex emotions, but he was very glad in his heart. He was glad that he had obtained Yun Luofeng's help. Moreover, he was confident that with Yun Luofeng's strength, unifying the Wind Cloud continent was only a matter of time. Chapter 1941. Qi Ling slowly walked in front of the two old men. He lifted his hand and removed the old man's mask. When he saw that familiar face, even though Qi Ling was mentally prepared, he could not help but feel a chill. These two people are indeed from the nation of Tianqi's elder group. Furthermore, they are people who listen to my imperial father's orders. Chi Su looked at Qi Ling and found that his figure was very lonely. At this moment, he actually felt the same way. The current Qi Ling was very similar to him in the past. Fortunately, they had met Yun Luofeng, the benefactor who changed their lives. Miss Yun, Qi Ling turned to look at Yun Luofeng and asked, "These innocent people have followed me for many years. I do not wish to bury them on the spot. Hence, I intend to let the remaining people send them back to the nation of Tianqi and let their souls return to their homeland. As for the four-nation youth competition, I will participate alone." Even if he was alone, he would do his best to obtain victory. Yun Luofeng nodded, "All right, let them return. Furthermore, you will have the opportunity to take revenge for today." Qi Ling did not say anything. He had never expected that his imperial father would do such a thing to make his third royal brother look good. However, after all, he was his biological father. He would definitely feel conflicted about killing his biological father. However, he would not let today's debt go just like that. If that person lived peacefully in the future, he would imprison him after he seized the throne. If he still wanted to do something to him, even if he was his father, he would not forgive him. Qi Ling slowly exhaled and a smile appeared on his handsome face. The four-nation youth competition is about to begin. Let's continue. After saying this, Qi Ling gave instructions to the elites who were born. Those elites bowed and retreated, preparing to bring these dead souls back to their homeland. Qi Ling waved his sleeves, looking carefree and unrestrained. "Imperial Consort Lin, if you want this prince to make your son look good, then you are gravely mistaken. I will definitely become the champion of this four-nation youth competition. I will not give up." Yun Luofeng looked at the confident Qi Ling and felt that he had not misjudged him. Mo Qianqing had been watching Yun Luofeng from the side. He wanted to speak several times but ultimately swallowed his words. "What's the matter?" Yun Luofeng saw that Mo Qianqing had something to say and asked indifferently. Mo Qianqing lowered his head in shame. "I'm sorry, I couldn't help you." Now, whenever he thought about how Yun Luofeng had almost been killed by those people, his heart would be filled with terror and anger. However, no matter how angry he was unable to help Yun Luofeng at that time. Furthermore, it was too late to break the seal. If he had been able to break through the seal earlier, perhaps Yun Luofeng would not have encountered such a crisis. "You don't have to apologize. This has nothing to do with you. But you're Zhu Qian. How can I just sit back and watch?" Mo Qianqing knew that Yun Luofeng was estranged from him, so he didn't say this out loud. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and asked, "You've seen it for yourself. Following me will be very dangerous. Are you sure you want to follow me?" Mo Qianqing bit her lips. "If I don't follow you, I will be in even more danger. Aren't you afraid that someone will want to kill me, causing me to inadvertently break the seal?" Chapter 1942. In order to stay by her side, he could not tell her that the seal had been broken. Otherwise, this woman would not let him stay. Moreover, seeing that Yun Luofeng was in danger, he could not leave. "Let's go." Yun Luofeng turned to look at Qi Ling and the others. He did not speak to Mo Qianqing. Not long ago, they had come in a mighty group. Now, only the three of them were left. Qi Ling felt a little sad. He took one last look at the remaining elites and forced himself to turn his head. "Let's go." Behind him, the group of iron-blooded soldiers respectfully sent the three off, until their figures completely disappeared. The kingdom of Tianqi. Imperial concubine Lin was lying on a soft couch. Her hair was loose. Even though she was in her middle years, she still looked beautiful because she had taken good care of her body. "Your Highness." At this moment, a panicked figure ran in. "Something bad has happened, Your Highness." The palace maid stumbled over, her face full of panic. Imperial concubine Lin frowned. "What's the matter?" "Your Highness, the experts you sent to kill the second prince's elite troops were completely annihilated." "What?" Imperial concubine Lin felt a sharp pain in her chest. She was so shocked that she immediately sat up, her beautiful face pale and colorless. "What did you just say?" "Completely annihilated." As far as she knew, Yun Luofeng was only a god. Because he had a dragon-scale armor, he could deal with heavenly gods. However, she had sent 2 heavenly gods. Logically, Yun Luofeng could not be their match. "Your Highness, it's true. Our men found the corpses of Elder Bai and the others." Imperial concubine Lin's face paled. She fell to the ground. She bit her lips, her body trembling. How could this be? 2 heavenly gods were not Yun Luofeng's match. How terrifying was that woman's strength? At this moment, Imperial concubine Lin finally felt fear. In her heart, she regretted her decision to send someone over. "In addition, Your Highness, this servant has also heard of another matter. The Jian family's second miss has been crippled." The palace maid said in a trembling voice. "What does this have to do with me?" Imperial concubine Lin was worried about Yun Luofeng's strength. When she suddenly heard the palace maid's words, her expression became somewhat unhappy. "It's like this, Your Highness, a while ago, a man went to the second prince's residence to find Yun Luofeng. He just happened to run into the Jian family's second miss, who was loitering outside the second prince's residence. That Jian family's second miss claimed that Yun Luofeng was unbearably lascivious. First, she seduced Qi Su. Then, she seduced the second prince. In the end, that man crippled the second miss of the Jian family in a fit of rage." Imperial concubine Lin frowned. This man was bold enough to even touch a member of the Jian family. However, how could the person who knew Yun Luofeng be an ordinary person? Speaking of which, this Jian family was really unlucky. Jian Yi first provoked Yun Luofeng, and in the end, he was captured by Yun Luofeng. For the sake of their only daughter, the Jian family had paid a huge price to redeem her. Who knew that Jian Yi would offend someone and get crippled? The Jian family wouldn't be able to exchange her for another fortune. Do you know where that man came from? I'm not sure. I only know that he's wearing a mask, a mask. Imperial concubine Lin thought for a moment. She didn't have any impression of such a person. She waved her hand. "You can leave first. I need to calm down." To the royal family, the strength of an enlightened master was very important. Chapter 1943. Now, the kingdom of Tianqi had lost 2 gods. This was a huge loss for Qiyu, who was about to inherit the kingdom of Tianqi. At this moment, Imperial concubine Lin was still confident that Qiyu would be the successor of the kingdom of Tianqi and the person who would unify the 4 nations. Not far away, in the forest, a cold man in black robes stood on a mountain peak. "Feng wait for me. I will arrive at Wind Cloud City very soon." The woman's picturesque figure appeared in the man's mind. The corners of the man's lips curled up into an arc. It had been more than 10 years since they had met. In these 10 years, they had been apart more than together. However, this did not affect their relationship. No matter where she was, he would always think that she was right in front of him. Wind Cloud City. Normally, it was like a lifeless city without any signs of human habitation. In fact, no one even lived there. But now, Wind Cloud City was bustling with activity. A soldier was standing guard at the city gate. When he saw Yun Luofeng and the other 2 walking over, he frowned slightly. This is Wind Cloud City. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed in. I am the second prince of the kingdom of Tianqi. I am also here to participate in the four-nation youth competition. Qi Ling said indifferently with his hands behind his back. The soldier was stunned. The second prince of the kingdom of Tianqi. Where are your troops? Qi Ling raised his head and looked at the soldier. His voice was indifferent. I do not need subordinates. Did this mean that there were only 3 of them participating? The soldier was shocked. However, the competition did not have a minimum number of participants. Hence, he did not say anything. After Qi Ling produced the evidence, he let him in. The second prince of the kingdom of Tianqi is really strange. Does he think that he can win with just the 3 of them? I heard that the most favored person in the kingdom of Tianqi is the third prince. Maybe the second prince is just here to join in the fun. The 2 soldiers at the gate underestimated the girl and did not say anything else. They started to stand guard at the gate and inspect the people who came. Even though Wind Cloud City was usually uninhabited, it was a beautiful place. Even the relay station was luxuriously built. There were also soldiers at the entrance of the relay station. Hence, Qi Ling produced the evidence again and the soldier let him in. However, just as the 3 of them stepped into the relay station, they saw Qiyu striding towards them. When Qiyu saw Qi Ling appear at the door and saw that there were no soldiers behind him, he couldn't help but laugh. Ha, second imperial brother, where are your elite troops? They wouldn't have died on the road, right? I think your elites are only so-so. They can't even deal with some spirit beasts, and you want to rely on them to win. Qi Ling clenched his fists tightly. Third brother, don't tell me you don't know what happened. A cold glint flashed across Qiyu's eyes. Second brother, I don't know what you mean. What does it have to do with me if something happens to your troops? Don't splash dirty water on me. Otherwise, Imperial Father won't let you off. Qi Ling's eyes turned blood red at the thought of his subordinates' deaths, but in the end, he restrained his emotions. Third royal brother, remember what you have done. One day, I will take my revenge. Qi Yu laughed coldly. His eyes flickered and landed on Yun Luofeng's face. Chapter 1944. Originally, he wanted to say a few mocking words. However, when he saw the girl's sinister gaze, he swallowed his words in fright. He waved his hand and gritted his teeth, saying, "Let's go." Humph. I'll let this girl be pleased first. After I unify the 4 nations, I'll definitely make her beg for mercy under me. As if thinking of that scene, Qiyu could not help but laugh sinisterly. He could not hide his pride. The Golden Sun Nation is hosting the 4-nation youth competition this time. They are also the strongest nation among the 4 nations. After Qiyu left, Qi Ling turned to look at Yun Luofeng and explained, furthermore, the Golden Sun Princess of the Golden Sun Nation is very talented. Her subordinates are all very strong as well. They are also strong opponents for us this time. This Golden Sun Princess was able to use the nation's name as her title. This showed her status in the Golden Sun Nation. Qi Ling said this to raise Yun Luofeng's vigilance. However, when he thought of Yun Luofeng's strength, he felt that he was worrying too much. In terms of talent, no one in this world could compare to Yun Luofeng. As a divine spirit, she could fight with a heavenly god. Now that she had broken through to become a heavenly god, she would definitely be even stronger. I'm tired, however, Yun Luofeng had only said that in a lazy tone. There was a sliver of laziness in his expression. Qi Ling laughed involuntarily. The lodgings in the Tianqi nation have already been prepared. Miss Yun, I'll bring you to rest first. All right. Yun Luofeng nodded. Rather than wasting time listening to Qi Ling's nonsense, she might as well consolidate her strength first. Qi Ling did not say anything else. He brought Yun Luofeng to rest first. However, just as they left Yun Luofeng's room, they heard a mocking voice. "Oh, I was wondering who it was. It's actually you. Mu Shuoxin, is your father not dead yet?" This voice was filled with mockery, causing Qi Su's expression to change completely. "Second Prince, I met an acquaintance. I'll go over first and be back soon." After speaking, his body turned into a gust of wind and rushed to the courtyard at the side. In the courtyard, the young girl had her hands on her hips. She held her head high, and there was a mocking smile on her face as she looked at Mu Shuoxin, who she had bet on. Mu Shuoxin's expression was very calm, but her clear eyes were surging with rage. "Don't worry, even if all the people in the Purple Moon Kingdom die, my father will still be alive." "Impudent!" Qiao Yefeng roared. "Mu Shuoxin, who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like that? Your drifting wind country has committed a great sin, yet your imperial father doesn't even have a son. Do you know what this means? His family line was cut off. Your drifting wind nation is already without descendants. Although there was a little prince in the past, he was not Mu Zhentian's son. That was why Qiao Yefeng said that." Mu Shuoxin was enraged as she raised her hand and slapped Qiao Yefeng. No one had expected Mu Shuoxin to make a move against another participant on the eve of the four-nation youth competition. They were all stunned. "Mu Shuoxin, you dare to hit me?" Qiao Yefeng widened her eyes in disbelief and said angrily. "Guards, take this damned woman down for this princess." "Princess." The palace maid on the side carefully pulled Mu Shuoxin's sleeve. "After all, we sneaked out. It's better not to cause trouble, lest His Majesty." Chapter 1945. That was right. This time, Qiao Yefeng had indeed escaped from the palace. She had even participated in the four-nation youth competition on her own initiative. Who asked her imperial father to make her the concubine of that ugly ghost emperor? How was that ugly ghost emperor worthy of him? Only the ugliest woman in the world would be interested in that ugly ghost emperor. However, Qiao Yefeng and Mu Shuoxin had become enemies many years ago. When Qiao Yefeng saw Mu Shuoxin, she immediately exploded. Qiao Yefeng had always treated the palace maids well. However, when she heard this, she immediately slapped the palace maid beside her. "Are you blind? Can't you see this princess being bullied? This woman dared to hit this princess. She must pay the price." The palace maid lowered her head, feeling wronged. She did not dare to say anything. Qiao Yefeng glared at Mu Shuoxin angrily. When she saw that the people beside her did not help her, she decided to do it herself. But as soon as she raised her hand, it was held back by a strong arm. Boom! That person pushed Qiao Yefeng back a few steps. Anger rose in her heart as she looked up. However, when she saw the youth's handsome face, she was stunned. In fact, Qiao Yefeng had a purpose for coming here. The people who could participate in the four-nation youth competition were all dragons and phoenixes among men. In order to prevent her imperial father from forcing her to marry that ugly ghost emperor, she had to find an ideal husband. Undeniably, the princes of the various nations were the husband she looked forward to. As princes, not only were they talented, but they were also of noble status. Some of them were exceptionally beautiful. Only a man like this could match up to her status. Hence, when Qiao Yefeng saw Qi Su, she was certain that the youth before her was the husband she looked forward to. Qi Su. Mu Shuoxin turned her head and saw the youth's handsome profile. She felt joy in her heart. "Why are you here?" I followed Qi Ling Mu. Are you alright? Qi Su asked worriedly. Mu Shuoxin blushed and shook her head. I'm fine. Qi Su, I will not let myself suffer. Then I can rest assured. Qi Su smiled and turned his head to look at Qiao Yefeng. At that moment, his eyes turned cold, and there was an eerie chill in his gaze. The princess of the Purple Moon Kingdom is nothing more than this. When Qiao Yefeng heard Qi Su's merciless ridicule, she immediately became flustered. This is a grudge between me and Mu Shuoxin. What does it have to do with you? This young man was not bad, but his eyes were a little bad. He actually fell for a woman like Mu Shuoxin. Was Mu Shuoxin more beautiful than her? Mu is my fiancé, why should I not care? Qi Su smiled coldly and said expressionlessly. Qiao Yefeng fiercely gritted her teeth, a dog with a dog, a wolf with a wolf. You and Mu Shuoxin are a couple, so you're definitely not a good person. Xiao Chui, let's go. Even if Qiao Yefeng was brainless, she knew that Qi Su's strength was not simple. She could tell just from his push just now. Therefore, she glared fiercely at Qi Su, and left with her palace maids and guards in a haughty manner. Qi Su retracted his gaze. Lady Yun is here too. Really? Mu Shuoxin's eyes lit up, her face was full of smiles. I really admire Lady Yun's medical skills. When there's time, I want to learn a thing or two from her. She playfully stuck out her tongue and giggled. By the way, why did you follow the second prince of the Tianqi kingdom here? Chapter 1946. Miss Yun wants to support Qi Ling. In a simple sentence, Mu Shuoxin revealed Yun Luofeng's purpose. Mu Shuoxin nodded. I have heard of the second prince of Tianqi kingdom. He is indeed a character. Miss Yun's vision is very accurate. Supporting him will definitely be a great help. Qi Su touched the back of his head and smiled gently. Mu, I will be with the people of Tianqi kingdom during this time. If you need anything, come to me at any time. I will definitely help you. Speaking of which, Qi Su is still worried about Mu Shuoxin. He is afraid that she will be bullied here. Don't worry, nothing will happen to me. Having said that, but thinking of those people, Mu Shuoxin's eyes still darkened. Her father has no son, only a daughter. Because of this, she became the object of ridicule by the princesses and princes of other countries. Seeing Qi Su's worried eyes, Mu Shuoxin said again. If there is anything, I will come to you. Hearing this, Qi Su smiled. Then I will go back first, lest Miss Yun has something to tell me. You should also rest early. Mu Shuoxin thought for a moment and nodded. Okay, then I will visit Miss Yun tomorrow. She doesn't know why, but for Yun Luofeng, Mu Shuoxin has a very good impression. Perhaps it is because he not only saved her but also saved her father. At this time, in the Purple Moon Kingdom's inn, Qiao Yefeng angrily walked in and cursed. That man is really blind. I don't know how many times more beautiful than Mu Shuoxin, but he only pays attention to Mu Shuoxin. Your Highness. Xiao Chui's face was still red from the fingerprints. She did not dare to speak as carelessly as before. Her tone was cautious. Just now, I heard Mu Shuoxin call that young man Qi Su. But there isn't a prince in the 4 countries named Qi Su. Qiao Yefeng froze for a moment and then reacted. Yes, that young man is not a member of the royal family. Is he a prince's guard? No wonder he can ignore me. It's because he knows that I am not as stupid as Mu Shuoxin. Qiao Yefeng felt that what she thought was very reasonable. A guard had become the fiancé of a princess. How could the Emperor of Drifting Wind Country allow such a thing to happen? Besides, the guard had not fallen in love with her because of her beauty, because he knew very well that there were no princes in the Drifting Wind Country. As a son-in-law who had married Mu Zhintian's most beloved daughter, perhaps Mu Zhintian would pass the throne to him. Fortunately, I didn't pursue such a man. He's willing to give himself to Mu Shuoxin for power. Such a person is truly disgusting. A trace of disgust flashed in Qiao Yefeng's eyes. She rejoiced that she wasn't bewitched by the youth's appearance. She raised her head and saw the palm print on Xiao Chui's face. She asked, "I didn't mean to hit you just now. I was really angry. Are you still in pain?" Xiao Chui's eyes flickered with tears of gratitude. She hurriedly shook her head. "Thank you for your concern, Princess. This servant doesn't feel any pain." "That's good." Qiao Yefeng smiled. "Go and spread a rumor for me later. Tell them that Mu Shuoxin's fiancé is just a lowly guard." Qiao Yefeng was not a citizen of Drifting Wind Country after all. She rarely asked about the affairs of other countries, so she was naturally unaware of Qi Su's status in Drifting Wind Country. She was also unaware of the recent events in Drifting Wind Country. Even though she was unaware of it, it did not mean that the princesses and princes of the other countries were unaware of it. Hence, the rumor that she had asked the palace maids to spread would only bring disgrace upon herself. Chapter 1947. The Four Nations Youth Competition unfolded under everyone's expectations. Wind Cloud City, in the center of the city square, people from various countries have gradually arrived. Mu Shuoxin saw Yun Luofeng and Qi Su at a glance and smiled at them. At the same time, she saw Qiao Yefeng standing in the Purple Moon Kingdom's team staring at Yun Luofeng. Her eyes flashed with surprise and schadenfreude, and finally there was jealousy. She was surprised because Mu Shuoxin's fiancé was actually standing with another woman. Schadenfreude because there will be a good show to watch later. As for jealousy, it was because the white-clothed woman was too devastatingly beautiful. She was as beautiful as a person from a painting. This made Qiao Yefeng, who had always been proud of her appearance, so jealous that her eyes turned red. She really wanted to tear that face apart. However, when he thought about the show he was about to see, the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Isn't that the fiancé of the Princess of Flowing Wind Country? What? You abandoned Mu Shuoxin so quickly and found a new lover. TSK, sure enough, men are not good things. Qiao Yefeng did not care about the gazes around her, her lips curved into a sneer. You're just a little guard, first for the power of the royal family, you hooked up with a silly woman like Mu Shuoxin, and now you're standing with another woman in front of everyone. I guess only a brainless woman like Mu Shuoxin would choose a fiancé like you. That's right. Qiao Yefeng deliberately said such words in front of everyone. The purpose is to let people understand how bad Mu Shuoxin's vision is. It will make Flowing Wind Country lose face. Not to mention, she wanted to see the scene of these two women fighting. Unfortunately, she is doomed to not be able to see such a scene. Mu Shuoxin slowly walked towards Yun Luofeng, her pretty face raised a smile, as if she did not hear Qiao Yefeng's provocation. Miss Yun, I wanted to visit you 2 days ago, but because of some sudden situation, I couldn't go see you. I hope Miss Yun won't take it to heart. Qiao Yefeng's face turned black on the spot. With her understanding of Mu Shuoxin, if others peep at her man, this woman will definitely be angry. But why is she so friendly to the woman beside Qi Su? At the thought of this, Qiao Yefeng gritted her teeth. Her face was filled with anger and unwillingness, and her eyes were filled with viciousness. Yun Luofeng used his chin to point at Qiao Yefeng. You know each other. She's just a crazy woman. And I wouldn't know such a person. Chi Su was expressionless and his tone was cold. Xiao Yefeng was so angry that she almost flipped out on the spot. Chi Su, who do you think you are? You're just a guard. In front of this princess, you have no right to speak. Xiao Yefeng's entire body was trembling, her face was ashen as she glared at Chi Su. At this moment, she did not notice the astonishment in the eyes of the others. Guards. The Qi family of Drifting Wind Nation was also considered a large aristocratic family. Their strength could not compare to the imperial family, but who asked Chi Su to have such a powerful master? People from other countries had heard of Yun Yueqing's story. They weren't like the Qi family back then. They didn't think that Yun Yueqing had really disappeared. Maybe she was just trapped somewhere and would come out sooner or later. Offending Yun Yueqing's disciple at a time like this wouldn't end well for them. Feng shut up. A luxuriously dressed man heard Xiao Yefeng's words and his expression immediately changed. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.